Welcome, everybody, to Through the Grapevine, episode 6. My name is Bren. I'm going to be hosting the Halloween special of Through the Grapevine. And we've got a special guest as well, Amelia Pasch, who's known in the wider Overwatch community as a journalist, but you haven't really branched out much, Amelia. You've been mainly stuck on Medium. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the case.
That's an accurate summation.
Yeah.
Can I just ask what
the
hell Harsha is? What are you? What are you supposed to be? You look like a very angry white man.
He looks like
I'm
the
America's
anonymous logo dude, but like
I'm America's least favorite person, an old white man.
I thought you were just going to say Harsha. You could have just gone with Harsha there. I'm the Muffin Man.
Monetized.
I'm a very low budget, the Muffin Man.
It's not being monetized at all.
Okay. But yeah, I'm going to go around the circle again. As you all know, we've got Harsha once again, unfortunately, and Sideshow as well. I could probably say the exact same again. And if you've watched our episodes before, you know about these two gents. But jumping straight in, I guess we can move into APAC is the beautiful list that's been summarized by Sideshow. I don't actually do any work on this podcast. I literally read off a Google Doc. And go
come up dressed as Gandalf.
And come up dressed as Gandalf.
I like how you have every opportunity to just take credit for the work, yet you still give it to Sideshow.
He's honest. You can trust in him to be honest.
To be fair, it was Harsha that did most of the work here, but the formatting was Josh. Josh is raising his eyebrows like I don't know what I'm talking about. But APAC Premier is apparently the first topic on our conversation. We can talk about them. MY, Miraculous Youngsters, place in the world standings. Where do they stand? I'm doing that thing again where I just read it directly off the doc. I don't actually, I don't put it into my own words. I just read it off the doc. Immediately, let's start with you.
I do actually think that Bren is one of the best hosts in the entirety of Overwatch, actually, because nobody else has access to a teleprompter, and yet Bren is really his own teleprompter. He just literally anything that comes in through his eyes just gets immediately outputted via the mouth.
I'm Ron Burgundy. I was watching Anchorman 2 today. I was watching it. Honestly, me and Ron Burgundy, I relate to that man. Amelia, you said don't come to me for APAC Premier thoughts. Why not? What's your thoughts on Miraculous Youngsters? Where do they place?
Clearly, I was mistaken in only telling Sideshow that I wasn't familiar with APAC.
Classic. That's why I wasn't told this.
Information that was not shared.
All right. Okay. Just from what you've heard, from what you know.
For the record, you can count on Sideshow to be a generally great courier.
I can expect him to just overtalk, and then I'll just lead into him. It would be great.
Exactly. That's all he's good for.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that they were like super hype, and everyone was really impressed by them, and everyone that like was following the scene like wasn't surprised that they did super well. But then everyone else was like, who the fuck are these kids? It's kind of all. I haven't followed APAC, I'm sorry.
All right, Bren.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about APAC?
Oh, mate, it was amazing. I loved the finals, which was the only thing I watched. Runaway versus GC Busan once again. Runaway coming up short. I didn't watch it too much because I don't have an excuse, actually.
Yeah,
I was going to come up with one.
Because you're playing Destiny 2.
I was playing too much Destiny 2. Yeah,
There.
see, no, I don't have that excuse. I am literally doing nothing but playing Destiny 2. I had all the time in the world to watch these VODs, and I didn't do it. But I'd say Miraculous Youngsters, people are sleeping on China as a region. That's my thought.
I don't actually think so.
Including you. Is that including you?
Including me. I was actually asleep while the tournament was being played. So
He has continued to sleep despite being told exactly what he should be waking up for.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Harsha, come on, throw some thoughts into my face.
I don't actually think China's being overlooked as a region. I think MY is a particularly good team, but I think the rest of China really hasn't caught up to their level. And I'm actually, I mean, we'll get into this later, but I'm actually kind of disappointed in the Shanghai roster reveal because there are no MY players on it. But I mean, you have to mention that Runaway lost to MY in a different meta in I think like a month ago, and now they come in and kind of beat them pretty heavily. And MY hasn't really been beating the Korean teams, although they did put up a pretty good fight against Lunatic High, I would say. So I mean, they clearly look like a good team, but they seem to have like a mental block right now against the better Korean teams.
Yeah, I think there's a few storylines actually that come out of APAC. because it was such a completely different meta that they were playing on. You can get a better judge, I think, for where teams are at in terms of like their versatility, how they're going to adapt to things like this. Because for the Apex finalists, it's very reasonable to say coming into APAC that they might not have performed that well. Like they may have gotten out in the quarterfinals. They had like 3 days to be able to prepare for a new meta that's like nothing we've really seen for for what is it, like a year and a half since Mercy was last in the meta for extended periods. It must be back into the beta before we had a Lucio-less meta. I don't even remember that.
I remember it was because the only reason I remember it is because Mitch was doing a VOD review for one of our casts way back in the day, me and you, Josh, and that was a Mercy meta. It was literally every fight you had to resurrect. That's what. But
they were still running Lucio at that time, right? It was Mercy Lucio for quite a while, and whenever they run the Pharah metas and stuff like this, it's normally Mercy Lucio. So
yeah,
I think just to tie back to what I was saying, it would have been very reasonable for them to have the excuse of, okay, we're coming into this tournament, it's in China, we don't really know the meta that well, but they slammed everybody. I mean, GC Busan just 4-0'd Flash Wolves, then 4-0'd AF Blue, who look like they're actually doing pretty well with their new retooling of the roster. They were basically dunking on everybody else in groups and looked like a solid team. And then they go through and 4-1 the finals against Runaway. So I think GC Busan have got massive versatility within their roster. And what's more important for Runaway and GC Busan, I think, is that they've both got the teamwork to be able to handle lots of different metas, because they've got the fundamentals so down within their team. They're not just a team that's being carried by great individual skill or mechanics or a mastery of one particular meta thing. It's like they've got a great foundation. They've got really incredible teamwork and interplayer synergy and coordination within their team.
Words.
Thanks, my man.
I think that you do have to give them the title of best team in the world right now. We haven't seen them play against the current, or like the new Team Soul with Fleta and Munchkin. But right now, like, given their performances, they've won 2 straight tournaments, and like they look like they've only gotten better and better as time has gone on. And they adapted to this meta in what, 3 days, you said? So, I mean, they look like a very legitimate shot for best team in the world.
Which means that Bren is not going to be delusional when he just randomly chooses London in the Overwatch League and decides to support them, because they will actually be.
Listen, the only thing that really irates me, okay, about you, Josh, okay, do you understand?
There's only one.
His expression is the fact that you're just not a supporter
of London, of UK in general, of British esports.
Listen,
for sure.
Where's your ticket to BlizzCon? Are you going to be there in person cheering on Team UK? Absolutely not. Do you know why? Because you're a piece of shit. Okay, you don't support the UK.
Because you don't want to have a good time. Clearly.
You don't want to have a good time. Look at me. I'm dumping thousands of pounds to travel across the world to cheer on Team UK because I know we're going to beat Team South Korea in the finals. It's a fact. Listen.
I think one of us is definitely delusional and has something on with us.
No, listen.
And I'm not sure it's me, actually.
I need to show you something, actually. This is what I've got planned.
Oh, God.
Okay? I've got these flags, right? Union Jacks.
How many?
For BlizzCon 2. I've got 2 of them.
When are you ever going to need 2?
Well, here's the idea behind it. One of them
make a hammock out of it.
One of them I wear as a cape, like this. I can't actually see.
He can't watch his team play. It's going to be too disappointing. But he will carry the flag.
No, we're going to win. We're going to win. And then one of them I wear as a cape. And the other one, I don't actually have a flagpole yet. But when I get one, this is going on a flagpole.
Good God.
Around. I need to find a flagpole. Does anyone know in LA? Does anyone know where you can get a flagpole?
I think you should definitely wait till you get to LA to buy one rather than importing one from the UK.
I'm not going to try and get one here.
Taking a flagpole on the plane. No, but really, I need to support the UK team at the World Cup. Good God. You know, a flagpole's just a stick, right? They have a lot of sticks in LA.
Yeah, well, you know how it is. Sometimes you can find a stick, sometimes you can't.
You know what I've just realised as well? Amelia, are you wearing like a US bandana around you as well?
I literally said that this is as close as I was getting to a Halloween costume.
Clearly you don't listen.
It's a USA scarf.
Oh, it is a USA scarf.
Yeah.
Okay. So we do have patriotism from 2 of the people.
Me and Amelia are actually going to fight to the death in a car park at BlizzCon.
Okay.
who's the superior team?
Neither of
Because
us, they're making it to finals. No need.
wow, no, you say that, but the UK.
Just kidding. I actually think USA will
the
do really
US.
well.
You think they do well against South Korea?
Yeah, actually.
Okay, that's work. Goodbye, Amelia. It's nice having you on the podcast.
Thank you.
We'll
Had
call
a really
it
good
quits.
time.
We should actually talk about the World Cup though,
Yeah.
in terms of like the matches that are happening, because people have crazy predictions now. When everything seemed to be completely set in stone beforehand coming into it, this new meta has just made people like completely change.
Did you
their
see
opinions.
that TIS Robin, our Korean prophet, has said that that he thinks that the US actually might beat South Korea?
Hmm?
I think, you know how after Rogue played as Team France in the World Cup, they like you could tell that they were like fluctuating and the meta was changing and they weren't doing super well with it, and then they went into contenders and like fell on their faces. I feel like
That could happen to
South
Korea.
Korea could be in that position, like it's in the similar thing, and I think that the US could do very well in a Mercy dominant meta. Obviously, Mercy has changed like how she's played because she's been completely revamped, but like Adam has historically like been one of the best, and like when the like one time period of time that Cloud9 was doing really well was when he was playing Mercy, and that they like won a lot off the back of that, I think. And then they just have like talented players, and they've been boot camping like in Cali for like over a week now, so I think they're in a really good position.
Compared to the Korean players that have been boot camping just ever
Well,
since they've
yeah.
existed, just
They're like-
set in soul.
Well, they're not. Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
I mean,
like,
no, it
they
is
only
different
have
for the
partially a whole
Americans.
team, yeah.
Yeah, it is different for the Americans because they go
But
into,
it clearly
they
hasn't
take
been
it
doing
really...
them that well because they haven't. They lost.
Yeah, they did.
Who, the
lose to-
Koreans?
They lost to a challenger team in some stream
Yeah,
match.
but here's the thing, right? They lost to Element Mystic, but I genuinely think that Element Mystic might be one of the best teams in the world on this meta at the time when they played them. Because the challenger teams, as we've seen from like, I mean, obviously GC Busan, in some sense the outliers because they were actually able to just completely dominate Apex when they came into it.
Yeah.
But we've also seen that the top level of challenger, as soon as they go into Apex, are already really competitive. You had Meta Athena when they came in were looking like a really strong team. X6 actually managed to take down Envious on their first run through Apex. You've had who else have been some other top teams as they've come out of I mean LW Red and MVP Space. MVP Space actually retooled their roster. They came out of the Super Week. But anyway, my point is that the top challenger teams in general have actually looked really good when they've gone into Apex. And the challenger teams this time had been playing for something like 3 or 4 weeks on the live patch when the Apex teams hadn't been. So they've had tons of time to be able to scrim on live, have loads of tournament practice on it, figure out the best compositions and how to play them. So I think at the point when Team South Korea played against Element Mystic, they were probably one of the best teams in the world because they were at that point dominating for 3 or 4 weeks the challenger teams, and then going on to face the South Korean team. So I don't think it's like they lost to a challenger team. They're definitely going to lose to Team USA. I think that they're actually like a legit team. And
Yeah,
I don't really see how I still don't really see how the strengths of the US team are really gonna flourish in this meta other than it being a Mercy meta.
One of the things
because
oh yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I just mean outside of this, when you look at the compositions that have been played in like in APAC, you've had some really weird stuff happening with kind of flexibility of the roster and just having a grip of how the tanks play in general and when to use your reses and stuff seems to be incredibly important. I don't know whether Team USA can play all of this stuff to be able to actually compete with South Korea. If they've just taken a bit of time after Apex to really nail down how the meta works, I think they'll still be ahead of them.
I think so. 2 things on this actually. I think one of the factors you have to consider when you're talking about Mercy is that far out play is going to be way more important, especially on like the King of the Hill maps like Lijiang, well specifically Lijiang, but also like Nepal. And I don't think that USA has a really good Pharah player. I think Jake's Pharah has generally been pretty underwhelming throughout his pro play. Like his Genji and his Soldier have been his main heroes, and then I guess at the World Cup, his Tracer was better. But the other thing that you need to note is that I think that the USA tanks actually will be pretty good in this tank meta. Like Coolmat has always been really flexible. Can play like he's always been a really good diva first of all, but I know he plays the Roadhog a lot. I don't know how flexible Fact Fiction is, to be fair, but I do think he plays a lot of Orisa, even though she was never really meta, and she can actually be a pretty valuable target when you have a Mercy, and he's also really good at the Reinhardt. So I think that the tanks will be able to step up at least in this metagame.
I do know that Fact Fiction, as far as like Orisa, is one of like the first ones who like wanted to play her more because he thought that she was like super underrated. So if that becomes relevant, then I have no doubt that he could like do well in it.
I can just see them getting blasted if they go to areas where they have to play control comps. Like if where they not control comps is something that the Winston's Lab guys use to refer to like Reinhardt Zarya compositions, and it's like bled into my mind now. But it doesn't make any sense because there's a game mode called Control, so calling it a control comp doesn't make sense.
Especially when historically the comps that have been favored on control maps are dive, so just not.
Yes, definitely not the control comps favored on control. But what I mean is like the Reinhardt Zarya compositions, like the slower paced. Whatever you want to call them, tankier styles, I guess. I can see them getting kind of wailed on when they go to there because Coolmat's really good and he's got a good brain and he seems to like be a very good team player with a lot of flexibility. But just in terms of his impact when he plays stuff like Zarya or when he plays in tank metas, like when he's on the Roadhog and stuff, he doesn't seem to have as big an impact as like guys like Zumba when they come into this. I think Mano has the advantage over Fact Fiction if they're going to be playing that.
I think Zumba's an outlier, to be fair.
Well, yeah, he's an outlier. Yeah. He's the guy that he's going to have to play against.
Yeah. But yeah, fair enough. I think that in a Zarya versus Zarya matchup, I think clearly Zumba's going to be the favorite here. But I mean, I don't have like stats to back this up because Coolmat's his Roadhog has been seen very rarely and like not for a long time. But like from what I remember, it was always quite good, and we haven't really seen Zumba play it at all.
Well, when Fnatic used to play with their triple tank compositions, back
it was
when
Bud's playing a lot of the
it was Bud's playing a lot of it with him on the Soldier 76.
Yeah.
And then when they moved to Apex, Coolmat was playing a lot of Roadhog, and the whole team was sucking, and Coolmat along with it on the Roadhog as well. But yeah, sure. I guess that his Roadhog's probably fairly decent because he is a good player.
If I was to go around call now and starting with you, Harsha, I want to go through each person and ask, what do you think your odds are of USA taking it against South Korea? If I was to, say, whatever, 40-60, 30-70, whatever. Harsha, what would you say?
75-25 probably. I think it's a load, I think South Korea is definitely very favored, but I think if there's a meta that USA can upset them, I think it would probably be this one because it's just so wonky right now.
All right, Sideshow? Finish your crumpet.
Yeah, it's not a crumpet, actually. It's a mince pie I'm getting in the season. While all you motherfuckers are still hung up on Halloween.
It was crumpet.
No, I'm all in on that Christmas shit. What was I eating? I didn't have a crumpet and then give up and just start tackling a mince pie instead. Boy, that crumpet was too much for me. Holy shit! Gotta end at a bite in and suddenly
I don't have my
mince pie.
I can't see.
Well, then why would you insist that I was eating a crumpet if you can't see?
I'm an old decrepit man.
Right, and therefore shouldn't be making claims like, you were eating a crumpet, sir, and I saw it.
You like your crumpets, Joshy boy?
Now, what you might have been talking about was the muffin that I had on my head earlier.
You had a muffin on your head? When did this happen?
Because that was my Halloween costume. I was a budget muffin man.
Do
you know the muffin man? The muffin man? The muffin man.
Right, give me your answer. Give me your answer.
Fucking Christ.
So I think that South Korea are going to win this one because I think the disadvantages of playing in Apex for a long amount of time, where they haven't been actually practicing the meta, if they've only been focusing since being knocked out on the World Cup and playing on live scrims and stuff, they are actually really fast to adapt, and they'll be able to look at the other Korean teams that are playing well and be able to play against the other top teams in this meta at the moment as well. And so even though this does seem like it'll be the tightest gap between America and South Korea, I still think South Korea are going to be able to take it. Yes, the meta probably favors America more than it favors Korea, but I don't think it favors them enough that they're going to be able to flip it over. It'll probably be a much tighter game than we thought from it. I think they should still be able to take it away.
Okay,
as long as they support.
You haven't
actually given you any numbers.
Numbers. You want numbers of what? Of
analytical
maps?
reasons. Listen,
Numbers
I don't
are
give
more
a.
important
I
than,
don't give a hoot.
well thought
okay?
out reasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not the right podcast for well thought out analysis. I want numbers.
You just want numbers.
Statistics, graphics coming across the screen.
7-3.
What?
You have more faith than I do.
7-3. I don't know what the fucking. I don't even know if it's a best of 5 or a best of 9 or what. You just asked me for numbers. I gave you numbers. 7-3.
I heard today it was a best of 5.
Also, neither of you defined which one is which.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I meant.
Exactly.
I think.
South Korea were the dominant ones.
Yeah.
I just assumed that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Sideshow, what about you then?
No.
What percentage chance would you have of USA winning?
Oh, I see. Okay, so you want
Give me a
you want
percentage
chance. See, because you started the whole bullshit about the crumpet, I forgot you wanted percentage chances. I thought you wanted a map count in the series.
What?
Okay, percentage chance. I reckon it'll be something like around probably a 65-35 or maybe a 70-30,
really?
something like this. Yeah.
You're giving it that much?
Yeah, I think that South Korea, for starters, I also think that some of the talk about the meta is slightly overblown because the Korean teams, when you watch them in the grand finals, are still able to pull off like styles that look somewhat similar to what they've been playing the whole time. It's not like they've completely upended it. Yeah. A lot of the lower level teams have completely upended it and just tried to go with the meta. But a lot of the Korean teams will stick to what they know plus adding in a Mercy and stuff like this. I think they'll still be able to take it. I think it will be a bit closer though. I mean, I wouldn't have said 70-30 or no way would I have said 65-35 if this was on the previous meta. You fucking... You look so wise with that hat on, old Brendalf the White. But yes, I think it'll be somewhere around 65-35. Amelia, to you. I can't even go back to our host at this point. Please, Amelia.
I was going to say 60-40, but to USA, I just feel like...
60-40?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
To USA.
I don't know. I just think they have it.
Oh,
or it's going to be... At least it's... I know it's going to be very close, but I think that they can, like, win out.
One thing I'd actually add is that both USA... I expect USA and I expect South Korea to be running very different things where, like... Actually, to be fair, they do have Flower, so they could run whatever the fuck they want to. But like, I know that USA has been focusing a lot on like the Junkrat comps and building around him. But when you watch South Koreans play, you're mainly seeing like the Soldier Tracer, the Soldier Tracer, the Genji Tracer. You're not really seeing them experiment with the Junkrat very much. But now that I think about it, they do have Flower, so that kind of throws all of that out of the window.
I've been looking for some big performances from Flower, to be honest, because I have still been underwhelmed by this guy in almost all of his big tournament appearances. I know that I went on a rant about this in some previous podcasts as well. But the guy gets called like one of the best players in the world or one of the most mechanically skilled gods of the game or whatever. He really hasn't shown that since IEM Kyangi in like December 2016. The guy had a finger injury, but I still haven't seen like big performances. I was kind of hoping I would see it this Apex, but
are you not counting the the previous World Cup where they played, to be fair, pretty low tier competition, but
they didn't play Flower in 2016 World Cup.
No, this World.
It was Arhan on the
group stage.
You mean the qualifiers?
Yeah.
When they played against the Netherlands?
Well, that's what I asked.
No, I'm definitely not.
Random shit and like spawn again.
Yeah, he played 2/3 of all the heroes in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. No, to answer your question, no, I'm not counting the qualification in.
Is that what we're coming with the flexibility round?
Yes, he's definitely flexible. I'll give him that. He can play a lot of heroes, but I still haven't seen like these real god tier performances from him that previously we were expecting from him, and we saw some kind of not really hints because he did it throughout the tournament in IEM Kyangi, but it was a one-off kind of thing. I want to see him back to that level where you can reasonably call him one of the best players in the world. Otherwise, if he flops, or say BLB has to carry him, that's going to be a bit of a liability for them. A potential weakness there when everyone was expecting the strength.
Would anyone here put money on America winning?
Pasch, apparently.
That seems a little excessive.
Would you put money on that? Is this time to make a bet? You put a tenner on the line? No.
I'll tell you who might put money on them though, because
he needs money to buy his flagpole.
Now, where did I have this?
Who would put money on them?
I had some tweets up a second ago.
Flame.
Oh, here it is.
Flame and Kai Kai.
So it's Flame and Kai Kai were just throwing out predictions for the World Cup because things are coming up. I imagine other people will as well. And so Flame's prediction for this one was USA over Korea. The same for Kai Kai, but For Kai, I feel like even if he really doesn't believe it, he's still
Yeah.
gonna say USA over Korea because he's not gonna be like, yeah, by the way, I think my boys are gonna lose. So,
Yeah, we're gonna get shit on.
but yeah,
I'm
I think
I'm atting them right now.
who Flame and Kai.
Flame and Kai. You guys want
To
to put
make a
money on
bet.
USA winning over Korea? Yeah.
And you weren't even that sold on Korea. I feel like I've
What do you
accidentally
mean? No,
influenced you.
I've been sold on Korea.
All right, so you give us your percentage.
Yeah, what are your-
What do you think?
Okay, it's time for me to shine. All right, listen, Korea as a region. Okay, if we look back over the history of Overwatch, okay, because I'm not looking short term here. I'm looking long term. I'm looking over the course of Overwatch history, and not even in Overwatch, in other games.
We're going back
okay?
to Korean history as a whole.
Yeah,
If we look at the Korean War,
back to the Young Dynasty.
if we go back, all right, listen, I'm not going to go that far back, but
The US didn't win the Korean
multiple games.
It
Listen,
we had to
I've
pull
just
out.
sent a tweet. And here's my reasoning. Okay, Korea as a region, in terms of like online competitive games, have always been top tier, right? And they're not slow to adapting. You know, even though the meta switch ups and it might be a little bit closer between them, it's highly likely that they're going to be able to figure out what USA are throwing at them. And I know that USA is giving it the talk. Okay, they got the media, the marketing backing up behind them. Blizzard want them to succeed as well. That's why they redid the drawing as well for the World Cup groups. They didn't want them to play against. They didn't want them to play against South Korea initially. Then they redid it, and it happened again. Listen, at the end of the day, I just don't think it's going to be enough. Korea, especially the players on it. I mean, you tell me you're not particularly too sold on Flower, but I still think all of those players have had, you know, so much more experience than a lot of the USA players on that high level that you get in Korea that it's going to give them the upper edge.
Okay, I can live with that. Yeah.
Thank you.
What's your percentage though?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, give me numbers, idiot, not analysis.
Sorry. Okay, I was just looking at the tweet. Kai said he would if he was allowed, but
That's
Flame,
true.
That is.
Flame should be allowed. So I'm thinking some easy
Not
money
if-
is about to be
maybe
made.
not
at
if he's on
BlizzCon.
the desk.
He won't be on the desk.
Was he not on the desk?
No.
Nope. So I'm thinking I can literally just I reckon he put his house on this. I
reckon that if he put his house on it, you'd have to put something of equivalent value, and you own about £3.50 in the entirety of the world. I think the most expensive thing you own is that Brendalf costume that you were wearing earlier.
Union Jack.
Yeah, how much was that?
Union
Like
Jack for a house?
50p.
£4 actually.
You got ripped off.
Yeah, but no, I didn't because it's a 5-foot one, and it was on Prime, so I got it next day.
Congrats.
There you go. But no, the odds I give would be more or less 80 to 20, maybe a bit higher towards South Korea's end. Honestly,
Maybe a bit higher.
maybe a bit higher to 90.
95.5.
Let's just say 99 to 1. But no,
Alright.
honestly, I don't think people are giving USA too much.
I think
I think people are just being
some
too
of
hopeful.
it will be like some people are just mental hopeful. Like, for example, there was an over.gg thread yesterday which was I had to close. Like, I kept opening it and then just immediately I had to close it. It was called something like, "Are the Koreans really that good?"
Oh,
and
I
I
saw
just wanted to
that.
post
No.
God.
I just wanted to post, yes, they are, and,
And lock the
leave
thread.
it at that.
No.
Yes.
But there were some really crazy people on there that all NA, of course, who really do believe that there's like the Koreans are only as good as they are because they're over in Korea, and like you always have to go over there, and like
what pisses me off is when people say no, they just have better teamwork, but they're not actually as good mechanically as the Western player. No, that's clearly.
That
Just,
doesn't matter.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not even true though. They're like half of them are on par with the Western player. It's not like they're just bad because of their race.
yeah, it was great. It was like, I've never seen a Taimu in Apex. It's like, have you
watched fucking Apex?
Have you ever watched Apex? So yeah, that so some of it is just hopeful delusion, but some of it is just not knowing how this meta is going to play out as well. I think that's what it is for me as well. It's just I don't really know how Team USA
But
and Team
surely
South Korea
we-
are going to perform in this meta.
Excuse me, I'm still recovering from a chest infection. I really shouldn't be hosting this, but
No, you
I've
should
said
not.
it many a
Doing
time.
great job.
Said it many a time.
I got wisdom teeth coming through. I've got the lot. I'm sick. I'm going to BlizzCon tomorrow. I've got a
I was
4
thinking
AM
you look
flight.
very wise with that hat on. It wasn't just the hat; it was the teeth as well.
Yeah, it's either falling
He's
out.
wearing a bathrobe.
He
I am.
is- yeah.
It's true. I'm decrepit right now.
He's shivering.
I've completely forgotten what my point was.
You're supposed.
Look at the
I've no
dog.
idea, but
Did I give you any hints?
let's move on.
You were.
No, I was making a point.
No, you weren't.
You said no. It was the meta. I said that the meta.
Yes.
We don't know how it'll play out. There
Yes. There. Thank you.
Alley-oop.
Right. Surely we've seen enough gameplay from Apex Challengers to know where these teams are roughly going to be standing, as in how well they're going to be adapting.
Listen, only 2 out of 4 of us have watched APAC, and 0 out of 4 of us have watched Apex Challengers. Along with most other
The viewers
analysts.
don't know that.
Right? Okay.
We can.
But
we
even
can edit
so-
it out.
Even
I
so,
agree.
the players haven't even been the same though.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Okay. That I agree with, but surely you can sort of correlate it with similar play style.
I would, yeah.
I can do some basic addition.
Yeah. Literally,
Quick
it's
maths.
just math.
2 plus 2.
2 plus 2
plus 2 is 4. Minus 1.
Minus
That's
1.
3.
That's 3. Quick maths.
maths.
Everyday man's on the block.
Let's not take it that much
Smoke
further.
trees.
Fucking
Let's
hell.
get
Smoke trees. Okay.
Demonetized.
That's like.
Alright,
I think.
Shall we move on?
Yes. Absolutely.
Everyone
Yeah.
wants to move on. Okay.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the
Alright.
next.
France
one
versus
right
China. That's the next matchup in this group. Next game being played. Now, this is an interesting one to me. Now, of the Chinese players, I mean, how many are on this Shanghai roster? I haven't even
Zero.
cross-examined it.
here.
Zero.
In
Is that
fact,
because
you
of
could.
visa problem?
Yes, yeah. So you could have the entire Team China roster, the entire Team MY, and the entire Team Shanghai all play against each other because none of them, as far as I know, have any overlap.
Yep.
Wow.
So, which is kind of nuts. It is actually insane.
Okay, to be fair, the Team China one is just because of I think it's just because of visa issues, right? I think some LGD players were supposed to be on the China roster, perhaps.
Oh, actually, no. Sorry, I'm a liar.
Yeah.
2 of the MY players are on Team China.
Is it
So you couldn't
specifically-
actually have all 3.
Is it
They have
specifically
Leave and Zufan Shun.
is it specifically because of visa issues?
Yes.
Okay.
But there isn't any overlap. Okay, so it's not quite as simple as I made it sound, but there isn't any overlap between Team China and
Team Shanghai.
Team Shanghai, and there's no overlap between MY and Shanghai, but there are 2 players that overlap between MY and Team China. So they've got probably, I think it's reasonable to say, the best DPS player in China, Leave, and they also have the best Ana Zen player, Zufan Jun. And they also have another really good player, Eileen,
Yeah.
but pretty much has a
I
very
can't take that
similar
seriously.
Eileen.
Because
Come
that's
on,
the name of my
Eileen.
aunt.
Your
I
aunt.
just imagine your
Irish
aunt playing.
Why is his name Eileen?
I don't
name.
know.
Yeah, a great name.
Yeah, it's a wonderful name for a 60-year-old Irish woman.
There's
Not
a
a-
theme song with it as well.
Come
There
on,
is.
Eileen. Yeah.
Come on, Eileen. I can't wait for Harsha to cut this part out.
No, I'm leaving it.
It's not getting monetized anyway. It's
But my
We
point
have
is
to
that the DPS players overlap a little bit, and then their tanks are just like not that great. So I think overall, this Team China isn't the best that you can make from China. Now, whether or not Shanghai Dragons is even the best that you can make from China is
It's
another
not.
issue as well.
I mean, the other issue with
Oh,
this
wow.
is that
Okay.
the other issue is this
Very
is that
harsh.
I don't think.
That's why it's called that.
Yeah,
Hey.
I don't think France is going to be able to play at their highest level either. Because first of all, I mean, it's been rumored that 2 of their players are with. Actually, one of them has been confirmed with Immortals soon, right? So,
Yep.
so I mean, like, I don't think they've even been playing together. And I know that a lot of when you talk to the French people, they're overly emotional about things. I've noticed, and I feel like instead of trying to prove people wrong with this tournament, that they're going to be trying to or that they're just not going to be prepared at all. Like they've just been putting it off. I don't know if this is the case or not.
They have been scrimming.
They have been scrimming as Team France.
Yeah, as Team France, because I saw a couple of people were like, why are Rogue scrimming when they've broken up? And it's like, because they're Team France, you retard. so yeah, they have been scrimming, but that doesn't mean that they're actually going to perform that well. Now, as for how Team France will actually adapt to this, I don't think it'll be that bad. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds stupid, but any situation where you can take wins off Lucio, still have him in a position where he can stay alive a long time, and he gets to decide the pace of the fight, I think is a really good thing for France.
I have a
Because
feeling.
Lucio's got a lot of little nuances that actually have a lot of impact that Wins I don't think was ever really able to show in the game because his mechanical skill and He was really focused on leading the team, I think, rather than actually performing his
Yes.
best on Lucio. Whereas Mercy, I don't think.
I think it's more likely that he's going to be on the Zenyatta than the Mercy, because I know he has played Zenyatta.
Really, you think?
He's played Zenyatta
Yeah, well,
on
I
the
guess-
Rogue, and Unko has
Yeah.
always been a Mercy player.
It's
Do you agree with
possible.
all this, Amelia? Or
I got kind of distracted, but no, yeah. As far as the sorry, Harsha, someone yelling for me. Not sure if you could hear it. Anyway, as far as the wins thing, I concur, and also, I feel like he would be playing the Zen if he was off of Lucio, which
okay.
I feel like isn't good for them because I feel like Unko is just such a
Like God's Zen, yeah.
yeah, but like he's also probably the best Mercy, so it's like
Wins actually has
little
good mechanics in
unfortunate.
terms of like his fragging on Zen. When they used to run the Ana Zen compositions, his Zen was actually pretty decent.
How is his
Now,
healing?
Well, I don't know
I don't-
whether that relates to like actually standing in the right place or being protected. But the thing is, in this matter, if you're running Zen Mercy, you don't really have that much protection. It's kind of like you need the Mercy to be able to protect you, or like you need other people on your team to be able to protect you. So it's not even that much really in Win's hands how much he stays alive.
And there's specifically just maps where every time the attack goes in, the Zen just dies first.
Yeah. Oh, GC Busan were doing that in the previous
Yeah.
match as well, just giving up their Zen, so it worked out well for them this time.
Yeah.
So to go back to a similar fashion of what I was to do, give me some odds on this game as well. This is actually my side job. I'm working for.
Are you running a betting city? Yeah, yeah.
You know, he's
He's
brought
just-
this.
Just roll these sites.
he's like an never mind. Like a
Give
site
me-
that
give
like
me-
accrues different people's bets, and then
He-
it's gonna go with.
He's brought
Yeah,
up.
I'm just
Yeah.
I'm gonna calibrate them and I'm gonna work out the best way to make some money from this tournament.
No,
because
we're-
I'm not casting it. I'm allowed to bet.
We're not even
Are you
sponsored
sure?
by Bet365, and he's brought them up on like 3 different episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can
it's
tell
true.
which betting site Red uses as well. If anyone ever needs to investigate him in the future, there's no way that this guy uses any other site than Bet365. Bet365, the best place to bet on esports.
Yeah, but it just amazes me that they've got esports on there these days,
Fucking hell.
and it's so quick and easy to use.
You know,
No,
esports is getting pretty big nowadays, Bren, actually. Like,
Yeah,
you made a
are you
decent
sure?
decision coming into the space from when you did. I know
Okay,
it's just
but odds.
utter blind luck for you, but
It was utter blind luck. I was like, they were like, you wanna come cast contenders? I was like, sure, I
He's
quit
like,
my job.
what's this Overwatch League?
What's Overwatch? What's going on? What am I doing? And then I
Blizzard
quit my job.
Entertainment? They make games.
Yeah, I was like, I played World of Warcraft before. What's the difference? Same game, right?
it would
I
be
can
funny
commentate
if this
that.
wasn't true.
Harsha, give me your odds right now.
I'd say. I actually think that France pulls it out. I'd say 60-40. France.
Wow. Any reasoning behind this?
You wanted numbers, not reasoning, and now you're prodding
I
in
just
for
want-
the reasoning.
I
think-
want a summarized reason.
I don't think China's roster is the best they could have put together. At the same time, I think visa issues this late means that they probably haven't prepared much together. And I also think that because Rogue has had been together for so long, they're at least gonna have some understanding of how to play together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not like they broke up willingly.
Yeah,
Like they wanted to go into Owl together.
Yeah.
It's not like they had like some internal conflict and then broke apart. So and like China lost 4 of their players. So
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Okay. Sideshow.
Yeah, I think I got to agree. I think France really. I think they have to be favored in this matchup just because China had the visa issues and they don't look like they've actually brought the best team that they could to the tournament. I think if they had brought their best team, they would be favored.
Yeah.
But as it stands now, given that there's no internal conflicts with France and they have been practicing at least a little bit, the meta doesn't. I mean, the meta doesn't look like it's going to completely clash with France's playstyle. It looks like they should still be able to function within it. And there's a lot of interesting stuff that they could try. Unless China has some god tier players or synergy that we had no idea and couldn't have predicted, I think France should be favored going into this one. Probably something like a 60-40 or a 70-30 again. Because
Wow. 70-30.
yeah, I just think that the visa issues for China have really fucked them in the tank situation, and tanks
Yeah.
have previously been such a big part of the meta. It kind of looks like they're slightly less now, such a pivotal part of the meta because you have the res mechanic, so you can
Actually-
do different things with them.
Well, I disagree, or not disagree, but I think that tanks are like really, really valuable targets when you're rezzing, because first of all, you have to focus so many resources into taking them out, and then now you have to take them out twice. I think that like we'll start to see different teams pull out different things with the res.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's opened it up for a lot more flexibility with what tanks you're able to run. I mean, we never saw a Rissa or a main tank Roadhog like Blank have been using in APAC been used until now. So it's in some ways I think that makes it a bit more forgiving on the teams that had worse tanks, or like tanks that hadn't really nailed down the perfect way to play dive with their Winston and Diva players. But I still think Rogue should be favored in this. I am not a big fan of the Team China roster.
Okay. Amelia?
Same. I mean, I already kind of talked about it. Like, it must be so demoralizing to just like lose 4 of your players. And I don't think I think France just has so much like more behind them. Like, they've been together for so long. Like, they did shit in contenders, but they got kind of like better towards the end. And I don't think they're gonna like fall apart just because they have to like use Mercy or Junkrat or anything. Whereas, and I'm not sure, and they're already like competitive, so I'm not sure China with like going in with a roster they didn't choose to change, and that is completely not ideal. It's gonna do very well.
Yeah, I mean, people always say that Rogue did shit in contenders, but like you were saying, Amelia, they did get a lot better towards the end of it. Their final game against Envious was actually really close.
And you have to
it was. Yeah. It was you shit the bed at the beginning, possibly because you were in Canada, possibly because Wins was playing Quake Champions instead and winning himself some fat stacks in the semifinals there. And then they slowly started to get better throughout the tournament, not enough to get them into the playoffs.
They weren't like dominating by the end of the tournament, though.
But
where they were back. But it's entirely possible that if like they were like scrimming and getting like comfortable with like meta, that they could be back where they were.
They definitely looked top 4 level, I would say, at the end.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my issue with that is like Renegades also wasn't the worst against FNRGFE and their final match, but that doesn't mean Renegades is good.
No, it doesn't.
But no, I think Rogue is definitely getting isn't going to like fall over in this. Like, I think they could just totally beat China.
Wow. Which would, if our aggregate predictions are correct, would set us up for a South Korea against France. Aggregate? Do you like my vocabulary? Harsha was taking the piss out of me earlier for saying gesticulate. He said that was too formal. Aggregate, I don't know. That has 3 syllables. I don't think that's in Harsha's vocabulary. Vocabulary? How do you dumb that one down? In Harsha's
vocab.
Words.
Vocab. In Harsha's words. Words book.
Lexicon.
Not in Harsha's words book.
I mean, obviously,
I don't know where are we right now? I've lost.
We're at France versus China.
We just finished talking about
stacked bracket.
China.
Sweden,
You're in Gloucester.
UK.
You're in Gloucester. You're wearing a bathrobe.
Where am I?
It's okay, Bren. Just calm yourself down.
Who are you?
You've even got your glasses on. And you
deranged old man cosplay.
Without the old man birth. You've shed them.
Oh, Harsha, you're such a grown lad these days.
Well, we've lost control of Bren.
Stacked bracket. That's a good section to reel it back in on. So, do you agree that this side of the Overwatch World Cup bracket, that China, France, USA, and South Korea is stacked? Do you think it's the most stacked? I mean, I don't know why I'm even asking this question, because it is.
I think it's almost certain that whoever comes out of this is going to win. I think it's probably Korea.
Okay, don't get too far ahead of yourself. All right.
I took into account that UK was on the other side, and I still said that. So
yeah, shut
continue.
up,
dude.
We'll come back to this.
UK was on the other side, and so the competition wasn't stacked. So
yeah, I made a mistake. I'd like to retract that statement. Josh, any thoughts on the bracket in terms of stackedness?
I think it looked more stacked when China was looking really good and when Rogue was looking really good. Like when the actual group draw itself happened, Rogue was looking like they were a top. Yeah, let me think. Were they like a top 5 team? They were certainly a top 10 team. I think at the time they looked like a top 5 team.
This was during contenders.
Oh yes.
it was.
Oh yeah.
Then-
it
Sure,
was.
in contenders group.
And
Okay, yeah, fair
after
enough.
and like at that point, Rogue actually looked kind of shaky in the China group stage.
In the qualifier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was actually thinking about when when they had the bracket beforehand,
Yeah.
like when people were just qualifying and they had that original bracket.
Yeah.
I think that's what I was thinking about in my head. But it did look more stacked when France and China were actually playing at their peaks. It doesn't look as stacked now. I think possibly whoever wins the USA Korea one will be the favorites for the entire tournament.
Yeah.
And if USA are actually able to beat Korea, then that would be fantastic for them. And by virtue of beating Korea, they would, I think, be favorites for the whole tournament. But I would expect Korea to win and therefore be favorites.
Okay. Amelia, do you concur?
Yes.
All right. Good
An excellent cross-examination of the witness, my lord.
stuff.
I was
Thank
talking.
you, Squire. You are dismissed.
I'm just really bummed that China got fucked, and I don't think they're gonna
Yeah.
do nearly as well as we had hoped.
Yes.
Sorry if this is family friendly.
No, it's not. We have
This show is not family friendly.
I don't know if you've been paying attention since we started recording, but no, we.
I just don't notice other people's curse words until I do it. Then,
Look at the
Yeah.
cast of the show.
You're a
and you-
creepy old man.
Look at who's hosting right now, and that should answer any of your questions. But Sweden
I'm not-
versus.
I'm not that
Slowly
bad.
taking off his layers.
All right, can we kick Sideshow again from the group call?
No, look at
See you later, Josh.
you know you ruin it every
Yeah,
single
you're
time that
right.
happens.
Fucking hell.
Have I messed up the cameras?
Yeah.
Josh,
we'll
back?
fix it. We'll fix it. There we
Don't
go.
worry, I'm back. I'm
We're
back.
Good. We're good.
It's okay. I'm not doing the production. That's Harsha's job.
I'm just here to mess it up.
Yeah. Listen, Sweden versus UK. This is the one I've been waiting to get towards because I'm looking at the document we're using and I am being insulted in it. I'm being straight up insulted. Okay, so let me give you my reasonings. I'm not even going to ask any questions. Team UK. Okay, here's the reason why we're going to be winning this one. The boot camp session. Okay, these boys have been going to London. You know, Omen, sponsored by Omen, by the way. Buy Omen laptops. Okay, we've been
Not sponsored by them either.
We've been scrimming. Well, Team UK is. So at the end, it's the same.
All right, they've been
Team
scrimming.
UK. We've been scrimming. We've been boot camping. We got the squad together. We got Michael Adams, God's gift to Welsh esports. We don't just have one country in this team. We've got two:
Welsh esports.
Wales and England in the
With
same
two
team.
countries, mind you, you still won't win.
Yeah.
Two countries. Listen, two countries. What other team can literally boast that? None of them, because they're just not as good as the UK. You know, we've got Stylosa, who's going to be subbing for Cruz when Cruz eventually has a wrist injury in the finals against South Korea. Stylosa is going to be moving in, providing that top tier gameplay as well. And again, I've seen this guy's Genji gameplay; it matches the Brenji on a lot of levels. and I've been shocked. Honestly, I've been absolutely shocked. You know. I'm going to be at the venue at BlizzCon. I'm going to be selling Union Jacks. Anyone who wants one to cheer on Team UK, you come to me. I'll be in the Blizzard Arena, the Overwatch Arena all day. You want a Union Jack, you come see me.
You know what my favorite
Okay.
my favorite shit about
It's at Anaheim Convention Center.
yeah it is.
Exactly, the Anaheim Convention Center.
My favorite shit about this entire Brenji thing is that we started this just because we played with him in solo queue like once, and now now it's actually a legitimate meme.
It's not a meme, Harsha. It's a
meme.
legend. Okay.
Now here's where I lay the smackdown on Bren though, and become very
Get yourself
anti-patriotic.
tape.
Yeah.
Because when so a little birdie told me when you were talking about the UK scrimming there, you're like, oh, they've been at a boot camp, they've been really grinding, scrimming.
Yeah.
For some reason, threw in a plug for Omen there, buy Omen PCs, whatever. I'll ignore that. But
Yeah.
a little birdie told me that they were scrimming against Team Germany, apparently,
Who are not
Okay.
that good.
Oh.
and were losing
Well,
quite a
listen.
number of their games.
Okay,
Just a little
Josh,
bit.
Sideshow.
Or was
give
it
you
was
the-
it Team Germany? It was some kind of German team anyway. And
So-
the Germans,
adjacent.
let's I remind you, are not actually at the top of Overwatch right now. So
Okay.
that makes it seem less likely that they'll be able to beat Sweden, which is almost literally
Sweden
misfits with
is
the-
basically misfits.
Let me give you the smackdown, you goddamn traitor. Listen to me when I say this. Scrims, you don't want to be winning your scrim, okay?
Oh,
That's a fact.
God.
You don't want to be winning your scrims. If you're winning your
You've been winning
scrims, you're doing something wrong because scrims are a time of practice, a time of trying out new things and testing new things. And also, if you win all your scrims, you're not going to learn, okay? Germany, I know firsthand, are on a level of South Korea, almost above them in a lot of ways. They got cheated in the World Cup.
Wow.
Okay, so Harsh just
That's
disappointed
some
because he knows his
Premier
truth.
insight.
Fact check it in his computer just underneath his desk, and he knows the facts are all there. He tried the numbers. He plugged them into the machine. Now, Josh, you can snigger, you can laugh all you want, Mr. Sideshow, but at the end of the day, I'd much rather Team UK be losing these scrims so they can learn from them and bring the knowledge to BlizzCon.
Can we be clear?
They're animals. They're animals.
They can learn from a team that was eliminated in the qualifier.
Yeah.
Can we be clear that
I'm bored. Yes.
Sweden is essentially misfits, and I would say Chips is a
Okay.
wait. Chips is a better healer than Zupe, and while Snillo might be a downgrade, like a slight downgrade from Logix, I think that Logix's level at LAN hasn't really been on par rather. Like, I think overall, if Snillo can perform, this would be an upgraded Misfits.
Are you ready for the SmackDown, Harsh?
Go ahead.
Okay, so this Team Sweden, they're trash, for one. And let me tell you why. Contenders, everyone was like, Misfits this, Misfits that, Team Sweden. I don't care about Team Sweden, right? They choke at LAN every single as a team. Misfits, that's like... Disagree with me. You can't, because they choke at LAN every single time.
I'd love to disagree with you. They literally won 2 LANs.
They
literally won the
every
Overwatch Open
time.
against Envious and Rogue and NIP, and
How
then
far
they
back
won.
are we going? This is ancient history, Josh.
These are the lands they played
ancient
at.
history. I don't want to hear
Winter.
it.
Then they played DreamHack Winter. They beat Complexity and Fnatic.
We've
They
had,
were
like,
able
Give
to
me
win a
some
LAN.
modern art. You're giving me Mona Lisa. I want to see some modern art. Okay, what are you doing?
We've had like 2 lands after those.
No, listen. Tell me. So Misfits, contenders, they shit the bed. Okay, they shit the bed.
They got second, but they shit the bed.
They shit the bed.
Completely.
Okay, that was a team that should have got first. Giganti, they just laid a fat, steamy turn on them. Okay,
4-3.
Team UK are going to be doing the same. Don't worry about it, Harsha. Don't worry about the statistics, the numbers. We're not here for that. We're here for the hard-hitting facts, and that's the Team UK is going to be winning it in a very convincing fashion.
I think we should go to Canada versus Australia.
No, Amelia hasn't said her piece, and I need to roast her.
You're gonna get steamrolled.
Who
Like-
is?
UK.
What?
But actually, I mean, maybe you'll take a map.
Okay.
You'll be very passionate, and at least you'll have your collection of flags to cry into.
What is wrong with you? Are you half
just got
Swedish?
fucked. You just got fucked.
Where
kid.
is this patriotism coming from?
That was
Listen.
a solid roast.
That is a
That
solid
was-
roast.
But I think to
Yeah.
be serious for just this
like-
amount of time.
You're claiming I'm not being serious.
No, I'm sure you are being serious, and that makes it all the worse.
Okay.
But I think the UK were kind of powered by the fact that they had a pretty good idea of how to play the previous meta, and all the pieces just kind of clicked into place. Like, you got Boombox on the Zen, you've actually got a really good and pretty underrated tank duo in Chris and Smex for those particular roles. Although Chris can actually play a really good Reinhardt as well.
Yeah.
And then you had a good DPS duo as well. But when you look outside of that particular meta and try and look for flexibility or an ability to jump into and adapt, like a good team cohesion or good teamwork or a good understanding of how all the pieces are going to fit together, I think they're really going to struggle as they come into the next meta.
I would say they're actually really lacking in that. I mean, to be fair, some of these people are like big question marks, like Reels. I don't know how his Mercy is. I would assume they're going to try and keep Boombox on the Zen because, honestly, I don't know how his Mercy is either. Cruz and Mike, we haven't seen them play anything other than Genji Tracer. Like, I mean, I guess some soldier for Mike on Mikey's part, but like, yeah, this is definitely a team of relatively inflexible players in a very different meta.
You're wrong.
Yeah.
Yep. Let me give you my
Classic
reasoning for this
counterpunch.
one. I actually can't delve into it too much because I don't want to leak any strategies. That's not even a joke. I'm genuinely being serious. But Boombox,
We're gonna play
Historically-
Junkrat Mercy.
listen, Boombox historically has been terrible at Mercy. Okay.
Yes.
So he's just been awful at it. I remember he was practicing it a lot more. But at the end of the day, I still think they're going to be keeping him on Zen. Sideshow's tucking into that mince pie, man. Look at you go.
Poor BB.
But
I'm just listening to you, you know?
He tried.
yeah, okay. But honestly, I think your point about inflexibility is really just a terrible argument in the first place. Because Team UK, they're not in teams. They're not actually in teams. I mean, a few of them are, sure. But they've got a lot of time to practice, a lot of time to adapt. They're all keen for the next evolution into Overwatch. You know, these guys, European players in general, right, are the hardest working players in the Overwatch scene. You know, maybe the Koreans are on point with them. You could argue that, but it's the truth. They're the hardest working players. And I mean, I've still got Gandalf hair all over me.
So what you're saying is the Swedes who are actually
the Swedes don't count. Okay, listen. But honestly, I have a good feeling about this. I have a very good feeling about this team. I've watched them scrim. I've watched them play. I've asked them firsthand when they were playing the dive meta. I said to them, "What are you gonna do when they introduce a new hero or they make significant nerfs? And you know, by the time the World Cup rolls around, it's gonna be completely different meta." And he was like, "Well,
they probably said
we'll adapt."
No, they probably said we'll keep playing what we're playing.
No,
it seems like a
they're gonna adapt. They're gonna adapt like anyone, like any good team would. And I think everyone here in this podcast is sleeping on Team UK. Honestly, memes aside, I think everyone here is sleeping on them. People are looking at Sweden. They've seen.
All right, I'm going to take this opportunity to just take his train off the rails. Because it's highly possible what Bren's saying if they've been playing against the previous iteration of Sweden, right? I think we can all agree that the previous iteration of Sweden when they were playing at the World Cup was weak. It looked shaky. It had obvious holes in the roster as well. And the reboot of Misfits and the fact that they're literally just plugging in... I mean, what are they plugging in?
Chips and Snello.
Yeah, Chips and Snello. I mean, Chips is a really good kind of all-round flex support. And Snello's a very good tracer, and he can also play the Soldier fantastically. And he, I think, can also play Genji and stuff like this pretty reasonably well as well.
I mean, we have Tvik for that, but yeah.
Sure. But it just gives them all of these different options for what they want to run. So... Yeah. I think the fact that Sweden's upgraded their roster means that they're going to be able to take this.
I'll give Sweden this. It's going to be the closest match that UK faced.
Okay.
I think when they eventually beat them,
demolish Korea in the final.
Sweden, honestly, because I actually have a feeling that I mean, like you said, if USA ends up beating South Korea, and we end up with this finals where USA are in the finals, and it's a UK versus USA finals. That's when the UK as a whole, I've spoken to these guys. There's nothing more than we British people love, and that's putting Americans in their place. Okay? If it's USA in the finals, I think that we've just won it straight up.
All right.
Okay.
Don't all right me.
UK might want it more than Sweden, but I don't know if that's enough.
I think this World Cup's going to be crazy. Should we move on?
Yes, we should.
Yeah, I just want to add one last thing in, though, because just to bring it back to the other people that made predictions on Twitter. Flame agrees with you that he thinks UK are going to come over Sweden, and he actually described them in a great tweet that said, UK is that gimpy horse at the racetrack that you see the jockey injecting with steroids during setup, and then you bet all your money on them recklessly.
What? Is he saying we're all on Adderall?
No, I don't think he was saying that.
Your coach is giving.
What is the implication that he's saying here? Calling UK an animal that's on steroids.
No. Here's the thing. I think what he's saying is, you look at it at the beginning, it looks pretty dodgy, but then you just have this feeling about it. You see that they're like actually could have the potential to perform really well. And you just recklessly go with them, you know?
You see that they're like randomly really invested and committed to winning.
Exactly.
Whether by choice or not, or by drugs.
But the key word at the end there is recklessly. You bet all your money on them recklessly. And yes. Kai says that he thinks Sweden are going to win and they're actually going to be able to make it to the final over Canada as well. So that just wanted to throw that in before we move on.
Well, all I've got to say to that is that Kai doesn't know what he's talking about. I realize he's coached one of the best teams in the West for quite some time. I don't care. Listen, the guy's too scared to bet against USA with me. You know, he said it publicly on Twitter. Whatever, okay? Flame, that's a man with a head on his shoulders, okay?
Later, we will be roasting him for being a little bitch, but right now, he's really clever.
Got him.
Yes, that's true. Actually, we should move on. We really should.
Let's go.
Let's go for the next matchup. Canada versus Australia. That's the next matchup here. This is, I think, going to be the most like wet blanket matchup out of the tournament. I feel like it's going to be two teams just throwing flannels at each other, just from across like the room. Do you agree with me, or have I got a bad idea about this? Or, Mitch is probably going to beat me up when I get to BlizzCon, but
Yes.
I just don't think.
Looking at how Blank played in APAC, they actually looked like they were better
Yeah,
on this patch than on the previous patch, in my opinion. Because when I was looking at them in OPC in the Pacific Championship Season 2, they really looked like they were all over the place. I feel like they were a little bit lost in the previous meta. They had like poor executions on their dives sometimes. What else were they doing? They were sloppy in their disengagements. They were throwing ultimates into weird situations. Whereas when we watched them in APAC, they looked like they actually had some strats that, unconventional as they seemed, they had like a good idea of how to make the things work. I think they probably prepared pretty hard for APAC, and now they look like they're in a reasonable position. They have changed a couple of players, including Huwu, who actually plays a very good aggressive diva. Like with the diva changes, got like the micro missiles and stuff like this.
He actually can't go to BlizzCon, right?
Yeah, because he's from New Zealand,
right.
So he's not with them. So they've got they're back to Itar and Kiki, yeah.
It's gonna feel real good playing with the people that cut you.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm interviewing 2 other players later, and I'm just like, so you just cut 2 other people. I went to other competitions without them, and I have to come back and represent your country. How's that gonna go?
It's almost like a.
They're just gonna start throwing. They're just gonna be like, fuck Blank.
Well, I actually think that Itar is better than Hus, really, but Huwu, I think, or rather Kiki, is going to be a downgrade from Huwu. And yeah, you got to think about the intangible of the potential internal thing there. But as for Canada, they didn't look good in the qualification. I don't know how this meta is really going to work for them. They've got decent players, but they don't have a good system to fit them together. They don't really fit together naturally as a roster.
And they're all screaming on different teams right now for Overwatch League.
Yeah, it's strange. I think this is going to be the weakest head-to-head in the World Cup.
It might be the weakest, but I also think it might be the closest.
Agreed.
Actually. Yeah, I don't think Canada's going to be... I think that if you look at the team, it's going to be a team that's worse than the sum of its parts, I would say. Whereas when you look at like Australia, they've been playing together for so long. Like, even though I think that the Canada players are probably more talented, I think that this is going to be a really close matchup, and I do probably give it to. Actually, who would I give it to? You want to ask that? I don't know.
I just like Canada about the sum of its parts thing. Like, their roster is just so weird because they have like Mangachu, who has to play off tank, and if he's not an off tank, then they're switching really talented DPS players. Onto other stuff.
You know what they did do though is that they added,
or they just run one tank.
Well, they added rockets to Diva, so maybe he'll be able to play her now.
I talked to him, and he said that the new Diva, that he felt he's improved a ton, and that the new Diva suits him a lot better. But I don't know to what extent or how that's gonna like show up. And also if like Pharah becomes something that I have to play a lot. Though I mean, like Strifor can totally do that as well. So I don't know. It's one of those. They're like rosters so like oddly constructed.
Yeah.
I think to me that I don't know. That I want them to do really well, but I have trouble betting on them. Or like thinking that they'll do better than Australia. But Australia again has the 2 players that like were removed and now have to come back together, and I don't know.
I tend to agree.
That's another like intangible thing to like talk about, but
it's hard to read.
Yeah. Also, I also feel like Australia was playing for their home team, like in their they were playing in Sydney. It's like an incredible crowd, and I feel like that definitely has an impact versus like if you're playing in the US, which with people might be more aligned
with idiots running around in morph suits with the American flag.
Yeah, might be a little different environment.
I'm going to be running around as well.
In a morph suit?
Not in a morph suit. Well, maybe should I pick one up?
Pick one up.
Please don't.
I don't know if there are any that exist that would fit your proportions.
Mikey A's actually got me a Team UK jersey. I'm going to be wearing for the finals.
How
pretty
sweet.
good. You got hooked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my costume along with the Union Jack on my back. I was considering doing the Tracer cosplay. You know, she's got the athletic Union Jack sort of skin, where she's wearing those really tight shorts
Please don't.
and a tank top, like a really short, like crop tank top. That'd be me.
Sorry.
I'll be wearing that. The squeal, I imagine, was in anticipation at me being in a crop top.
No, Optic just released their thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
We'll be getting to that, Amelia. Are you trying to steal the host role away from me now as well? You and Sideshow?
I'm just so disappointed by so many things. Continue, please.
We'll get to Optic. They did just announce it though.
Yes.
It was, I believe, everything that we thought it was. But we'll get to that.
Yep.
What were we talking about? Canada versus Australia?
You in a morph suit,
Blacklist.
really.
Oh,
Me in a morph suit.
I
I'm
see.
sure that was really.
I see what she squealed about.
What's the squeal?
Mezzer. Am
Yeah,
right?
I saw. No, I don't. Is that
What
really a
about Mezza?
squeal worth? Mezza's a coach for Optic.
Yeah.
Let's leave that for when we actually need to talk about it, because we're going to go to the owl announcements and whatnot in a little bit later.
Good idea.
Excellent. Thank you, co-host number 2. Let's. I mean, are we finished with Canada versus Australia? Do we have any other thoughts? Or I think.
Well, how do you think the actual bracket itself is going to play out then, Harsha? I wanna start with you.
Okay, so I think probably Korea beats US. I think probably France beats China. Korea comes out of that, so that's one side of the bracket, and then we have I think Sweden UK will actually be fairly close, but I think Sweden comes out ahead. I think and then honestly I don't know who's gonna win in the second matchup, but I would say probably safe to say Canada, because I do think that they're probably a bit more talented, even though Australia might have the team play down a bit more. But I'd say Sweden is probably the favorite to come out of the other side of the bracket. So South Korea, Sweden, I think South Korea wins pretty decisively in the finals.
Josh, can I get your opinion on this bracket, on who you think is going to be coming out on top?
Yeah, I think that sounds fairly reasonable, except I think that Australia are going to win over Canada. I think Sweden will get the better end of UK. And then Australia will be able to beat Canada, but then lose, I think, to Sweden. Australia might be a bit of a dark horse, actually, to make the finals if Sweden end up flopping, because they didn't look like they were performing that great in their qualification, and you never quite know how a team's going to play when they're just adding in new players. I mean, I guess that extends to Australia as well. But yeah, I would expect Sweden and Australia to be able to come out of their matches, and then Sweden to be able to take that and go into the final. And then on the other side of the bracket, I think France is going to be able to take it mainly just because China didn't get the roster that they wanted to be able to go over there, and then are going to lose to whoever ends up winning out of Korea and USA. But I do think it's going to be Korea, and then Korea are going to end up being able to win in the finals against Sweden. But I think there are a couple of close matches that are going to be really good, and it's going to be a competitive tournament, unlike last year's, which I actually didn't even bother watching. Because I just thought it was trash, the fact that the total random players were playing in the World Cup, and it was just like an awful level of Overwatch. But I think this one is actually going to be pretty good. Even though there's no prize pool, I think people are still motivated to put 100% into the games. They really are motivated by this tribalism. And then...
Tribalism?
It'll be good to see how they
describe it as.
That's what you're... that's the only thing that's flowing through your veins at the moment when you're looking at the UK by the look of it. But then I think it'll be good to get a grasp of the patch as well. Now, whether any of this will make any difference, though, if we're actually thinking about this patch, I have no idea, because the next tournament after World Cup is like, what, the preseason of OWL? Is that the next thing that's been announced?
Yes.
That might be on a totally different patch. Like that, it's very likely that this is not on a Mercy-dominated patch. So this might just be a patch that literally only hits for 2 tournaments. APAC, well, I guess Challengers as well in Apex, but mainly just APAC and World Cup.
Amelia, agreements?
I still have USA. And then France, Sweden, and Canada, actually, I think is what I'm going to go with. And then...
Do you think USA wins the whole thing?
No. Well, if they beat South Korea, then yes. But obviously, if they don't beat South Korea, then no. Then I think South Korea just takes it.
Fair enough.
A very wise decision not to have the USA if they lose their first round in a single elimination.
I just mean, like, that I don't think there's anybody else that can beat them out of this. Except South Korea, is my point. And it's just kind of unfortunate that that's their first matchup, because I think it could have worked out really interestingly otherwise. Yeah, and then... Yeah, again, USA wins the whole thing if they take it. If they take their first round, obviously. And agreed that it'll be way more interesting than last year. Because I watched last year's, and it was really exciting to, like, be in the crowd and everything, but, like, the games are really good. Because you just had these, like, random teams that were obviously shoddily put together.
I'm actually super hyped about attending this one, because it's going to be my first Overwatch tournament that I'm actually turning up as a spectator that hasn't been cancelled. Because
USA needs better chance.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, I'm hyped about this, at least. I couldn't go to the Katowice one. I think that's where the groups were held, wasn't it? It was Katowice.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's where one portion of it was held. One
portion of it was. Yeah, I couldn't go to that one. So MSI was the only tournament I attended. I ended up selling my Xbox 360 so I could go to it. Sideshow had a hotel room for me, which ended up just being like a crack den. So I ended up staying in his hotel room with him.
Didn't realize it was a crack den. I was actually going to be staying in it, and then I kindly donated it to Bren. It wasn't like I was deliberately trying to get him killed.
But he literally put me up in a crack den.
Genuinely, there had been a murder about 10 seconds walk away though from, like, the previous night. Honestly, there'd been a murder in Fulham. Guy had gone...
Classic.
I think he'd been shot, actually, which is very rare for... In fact, I think my memory just thinks he'd been shot, but actually been stabbed. I've been watching too much US news. Guns have been involved.
Yes, you have. Yeah. No, but yeah, I mean, this will be good to spectate at least, because then at least the games will start, and there will be actual people there.
Overwatch will be played,
Overwatch will be played.
Hopefully.
My thoughts, I think, on the bracket. Obviously, Sweden, UK. I don't need to really iterate who's going to be winning that one. I've said it to death. But Canada, Australia. I'd give it to Australia, like you. I think Sideshow. My reasoning is that Canada don't have a strong, particularly off tank player. They have to swap around a lot of their roles. Blank, I haven't been looking too bad recently, but again, this is actually going to be the closest match, I believe, in the tournament, at least for the quarterfinals, because of how close it is between them in terms of the fact that Blank they're not using one of their players, they're using one of the older players that they've cut, and also Canada are always looking a little bit shaky. But I think France, China, that'll be another interesting one. I don't want to dismiss China, because I think people have been sleeping on China way too much. And I think France as a team, you guys are underestimating the impact that it'll be having, that the fact that they've disbanded, basically, and are going to different teams. I feel like China, that's going to mainly put it in their favor, even though they're missing a lot of players from visa troubles. And
also, China are not a team, Like, you can't just say that Rogue are not a team, therefore they're going to lose, when China is just a mishmash as well.
But then there's the bad blood.
There's no bad blood.
They all got dropped.
They wanted to go into Owl together, and then they couldn't.
Excellent point, everyone.
It's like that would have brought them together more in frustration.
But the point Harsha made, this is the reason I'm making this. He said from what he knows of them, they're very emotional players.
Yes. And
I feel like this is actually going to affect them quite significantly. They were going to play in OWL teams together. That was the intention. They were going to be in an OWL team together. That's why they were practicing. That's why they were working together so well and whatnot. But now there's nothing really holding them together. We know that some of the rogue players are moving to Overwatch League teams. And some of them aren't. So I mean, maybe for old time's sake, they might just come on, boys, let's do it. But I think I'm going to probably give it to China for this one. And then on the other side, USA, South Korea. Of course, I think South Korea. I've already said earlier my odds for it. I think they're going to take it pretty handedly.
There we go.
That's it. And now it's time to move on to the next section in the document, which is expectations from the event. What do we expect from the event?
Bren, you are such a bot, honestly. It's unbelievable. It's like
I stopped talking.
Such a bot.
No, listen. I stopped talking and I was like, oh no, I'm the host. I'm supposed to keep talking.
No, you know, like I'm just gonna teach you, right? If you just stop talking, someone else would fill in, and that would give you enough time to look at the document, move on to the next relevant section instead of literally reading off it like a fucking teleprompter. They would have all gone smoothly, but instead, now we know how much of an idiot you are.
Everyone already knew this anyway.
Yep.
I don't know why this is a massive revelation. It's not. I am a moron. He doesn't even need to say anything. He just nods. He knows. Okay, expectations from the event then. Amelia, let's start with you. I'm reversing the order now.
Oh, I mean, I assume we'll get a new hero because we've just done a new map. So that's how Blizzard goes.
Yep.
I don't really have anything as far as like that. I think I hope they talk about contenders, if only because pro players have bitched about them not talking about contenders. So I hope we get news there. But other than that, like the excitement or announcement right now is just the Owl teams being announced. So, and then we know when Owl the preseason starts and when the actual first season starts, and that's like all I really care about. So I don't.
Yeah.
What else?
Okay. Josh,
I think contenders actually might be announced afterwards. I think they'll keep all the focus on like their premier stuff at BlizzCon. So I don't think they'll announce like.
I wouldn't be unsurprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't talk about contenders. I just hope they do.
Yeah, sure. I think they'll wait until afterwards because they normally like to announce the really big shit.
Yeah.
At BlizzCon, stuff like here's a new hero, keep the casual plebs happy, maybe spice up the meta. Hero, all the rest of the Owl teams. Here's potentially our plans or something.
Maybe they'll just like make all of the Owl skins available.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah, or announce like they're available to because they do have revenue
or maybe
stuff planned.
Merch available.
Yeah, in fact, I think that they're probably going to talk about in-game items with Owl franchises. I think that's probably the place that they'd bring it up because that's where it's going to get the most eyeballs, and people fucking love skins.
Yeah.
They've already announced that they're going to do it at some point.
Yes.
And the like hype after BlizzCon, people become really like interested in Blizzard games again.
Yeah.
Because they like sign up to go in like March, and then they kind of quit playing whatever they get bored, and then they come back to it after BlizzCon. So that would be a really good time to like push Owl teams to all the casual people. We'll just buy skins for fun.
Harsha?
So
you've just been nodding along.
No, I mean I agree. I think probably Owl News, probably a new hero. I don't think they're going to do anything with contenders. I think maybe they throw a bone and say something about like, don't worry, we got details for the tier 2 scene coming out soon. You'll just have to wait and see. That seems par for the course of their contenders announcements, but generally just the big things, I would say.
All right. Okay. I think it's safe to move on to the next section, which is, I mean, this moves on quite nicely actually with Overwatch League stuff. So let's talk about the Overwatch League announcements we've actually heard, starting with the first one that was actually announced, the Shanghai Dragons, and we can talk about the roster because they've actually just announced it as far as I'm aware.
Last night,
right?
Yeah.
Last night they released all of the players and whatnot. My knowledge of the Chinese scene is lackluster, admittedly, but none of the players from Miraculous Youngsters made it into it, which my opinion is from a layman's perspective
yes.
of viewing from the outside.
He just has to prove he's a layman first.
Yeah. Is that it's that was maybe a bit of a mistake, but I'm not too sure. I mean, Harsha, let's start with you.
To be fair, I don't know too much about the Chinese scene as well, but I would say that
fellow layman.
I would say that while they did get like, it's weird because LGD was dominating the scene alongside MY a while ago, but now all of a sudden LGD's fallen off. Yet they've taken only three LGD players, I believe, and they've not taken a single MY player. Like, to me, it wouldn't be unsurprising if this team is significantly weaker than MY.
Yeah, I think someone needs to make a big database of all of the ages of these players.
Oh, you just fudged the numbers in China.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally what one of the players has. I don't want to say allegedly because nobody's actually reported on it, but that's what the rumor is about Leave, the DPS player for MY, is that he's actually only like 15, 16 years old or something. So he's not even old enough to play in OWPS, but he's got like ID that says he's 18.
In League of Legends, this is actually really famous, where you can only play at Worlds, I believe, the big tournament, if you're 17 or older. And I think that they had like 14, 15-year-old players fudging the numbers in China, going to Worlds and playing on the biggest stage where everybody's watching, and like nobody batted an eye, even though these players were way too young. So it wouldn't surprise me if the same thing happened. No, nothing happened, but it wouldn't surprise me if the same thing's happening with the Chinese, like the Overwatch scene.
So that's the rumor about Leave. I don't know how many of the other MY. I think Zufan Jun is also too young. So is Eileen from LGD. I imagine that there's quite a lot of other Chinese players who are too young as well, because you can play in the OWPS if you're 16, but you can only sign to an Overwatch League team if you're 18.
Yeah.
And there is actually quite a lot of individual talent in China. Something I think that they've missed for a long time is like the teamwork, or really nailing down a style. And that's where MY have really succeeded, is that they have good teamwork and they have a really nice style that fits them, that's kind of unique and different to a lot of other teams. Not many of the other Chinese teams have done that. They're just experimental, or they play off individual talent, which isn't normally as good as the Western or the Korean players. So I'm actually interested to see what they can do with this roster, because I think if you have a good coach or a good idea of how you're going to fit these guys into a team, just something in your brain of what system you're going to use to fit these pieces together, then I think you can make a team from the Chinese free agents that would be as good or better than MY. The problem is that nobody's been able to do it yet. There's a lot of people there that do have talent. This roster to me doesn't sing incredible it doesn't seem incredible on paper, but it's difficult to judge it when you don't know the ins and outs of the scene. Yeah. Like for example, Roshan. Oh, I assume it's pronounced like the Dota dragon
in the announcement.
Talking about Dota now, Dota podcast.
Yeah, so he's been hailed as a really good main tank for a long time. If I remember correctly, he was like one of the top choices to be picked for both of the Team Chinas for 2 years running from like the fan perspective. So it's difficult when you're not able to really dig into the Chinese scene to get a feel on the pulse of how these guys are viewed as individual players, and unless you watch them in all of their games and watch the little tournaments that happened before as well,
which
quite difficult to understand.
Does.
Which
yeah,
definitely don't do that. Definitely don't watch games of FTD because they're really bad. But yeah, Roshan I think actually is rated pretty highly. Maybe not in his peers, maybe it's just his fans. I don't know. It's quite difficult to tell. But this roster to me looks okay, but not incredible.
Amelia, where would you place the Shanghai Dragons out of all of the rosters we've heard? How do you foresee them? I don't know
nearly enough about the individual players to make any judgments.
Smart answer. I would have just winged it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
literally just winged it.
All right, I'm gonna sell them to you, Bren, and then you have to wing it with a ranking. Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna sell each individual player just literally everything I know about them, which is almost nothing about each individual one.
Well,
some of them made World Cup.
Yeah, that's true.
And then we're disqualified or rejected for visa issues.
Yeah. So Dia is a hit scan main from Vici Gaming, who are like probably the third or fourth best team in China. They're not that great.
The
guy's been accused of hacking before. He's a McCree player. He plays like McCree, a little bit of Tracer, not that great on Tracer, Soldier 76.
Accused of hacking, you'd say? Okay.
On McCree. He's like very much a McCree specialist.
That's what you want.
Okay, Undead is a hit scan from LGD, was supposed to be really good, hasn't really performed that well when we've seen him in the big tournaments. Maybe he's one of the guys in LGD that tends to choke in the big games. It's unclear what really the problem is with LGD, but they always fall when they get to like the final hurdle, the big game chokers. He is like a McCree, Reaper, a little bit of Tracer kind of specialist as well. So they've got two of those in the team. Always a positive. Always good to double up on your McCrees.
Going with the San Francisco shock strategy.
Yeah, it's just in case you get wrist issues, then you can just sell them out, right?
Zushu used to be called Luca. He was a Pharah player for 1246, but 1246 realized that they have 3 DPS players and actually didn't need him, so he's been sat on the bench for a long time, and he actually wasn't even that great when he played. So, not really sure why he's on the Shanghai Dragons roster, but maybe they just need a Pharah specialist. Not quite sure. Yep. MG is like actually a legit good off-tank from LGD. Plays the D.Va, plays the Zarya. Probably not as good as Late Young, who plays for MY, but actually pretty good. Roshan, I think, is a similar situation. He's supposed to be good at Reinhardt and Winston. Personally, I haven't seen him play that much. Altering, who used to be called 130, is the Lucio Mercy player for LGD. He's reasonably good. They have 5King as well, who for some reason, even though he plays in a garbage team, all of the fans and his peers rate him as being really good. And I actually haven't paid enough attention to him.
It's a tattoo.
What's his tattoo?
It's a Lucio tattoo. The frog Lucio tattooed onto his leg.
Jesus.
What?
Okay, so bonus points for commitment, perhaps, but that means that they've got 2 Lucio Mercy players as well. And then
does that mean if I get a Genji tattoo, I can get onto an Overwatch League roster?
Only in China. Yes. Only in China.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then they have Freefeel, who's an Ana Zen player from a bad team, and I've never noticed him. I've never really thought that he was that good. So their support line looks pretty trash. Their tanks should be pretty decent, and then the DPS are like a little bit all over the place. They don't really have a Genji player or someone who's got flexibility. What do you think? Where would you rate them?
Where would I rate them? I'm glad you asked, because I've got an in-depth knowledge of every single one of these players. I would actually put them 4th.
What?
Out of all the teams we've seen, I put them 4th.
I wouldn't.
Okay. Who's above them?
I put Seoul Dynasty as the top. Then the Dallas Fuel.
Not London.
Then the Dallas Fuel.
Okay.
I'm actually being serious for once. All right. Relish this. Okay.
Right,
Relish this opportunity of me being serious for once.
Seoul,
then the Dallas Fuel. Then the London team. And then Shanghai Dragons.
So you think they'll beat or come higher than Luxury Watch Blue kind of team for New York?
Yeah.
And Misfits.
Yeah.
And the newly released Houston Outlaws.
Yeah. And San Francisco Shock. And Boston.
Yeah, listen, that was a given. We were just asking you about the ones that were perhaps controversial. Yeah. But, I mean, it could happen. I think they need to nail down a style or have some really good coaching. I don't think it's down to the individual talent on the team.
You just got to wonder how it got put together.
Yeah, there must be reasoning behind it, right?
Somehow.
Maybe.
No. People always say this. There must be reasoning behind it. People are idiots, Bren. People are really stupid. Just thinking like, oh, this team must be incredible because somebody made it.
No.
Not
somebody
going that far.
But Brent, somebody made the Boston roster.
Okay, I've actually made this classic.
I'm not throwing any shade to the president of gaming. Okay, that's not what I'm here for. All right, listen. All I'm saying is, when you've got this pool of 1 billion people that you can choose from,
75,000.
yes, all of them play Overwatch in China.
Yeah, 35 million registered accounts, but 1 billion people in China play it. That sounds like classic Chinese numbers. Actually, that sounds like actually reasonable Chinese statistics.
Just make it up. Listen, when you've got this massive pool of players to choose from, I'm assuming for the only Chinese team, you're going to want somebody who knows what they're doing in charge, right? For these other Western teams, the pickings are a little bit more slim, right? So
actually, in China, I would say probably more likely that than any other region that you're going to get corruption of some sort in there.
Yeah. China, a country known for very clear meritocracy and definitely no nepotism and definitely no corruption. Must make an incredible team.
Their emperor, right? He's been in charge for a while. Whoever that bloke is, in charge. What's his name? I don't know, but he was in the news recently. He's been cemented now. He's on a level of Chairman Mao. Okay.
Yep. The old emperor.
His ideals are being presented to the masses. He said that he wants to root out corruption. I'm behind him. All right, I'm with him. I believe in him, and that's why I'm
pretty sure that every 5 years China says we want to root out corruption and then struggle with it massively.
But this guy's like
starting with the Overwatch roster.
Yeah, starting with Overwatch.
Really get our priorities straight. We spent 20 million on this, guys.
The other thing I want to note is that this has been made very clear to me. I won't say who told me this, but when I was analyzing a video, I apparently assumed too much knowledge on the part of the players, and so one of the players that was involved messaged me. They said, "Yeah, they just told me to jump in. Like we weren't thinking about anything. We just like we didn't have any strategies or anything here. We just jumped in, and so now I've realized that you can't assume anybody really knows what they're doing.
You've only just realized this in life.
You're the one.
I've been winging it the whole time.
They put Bren on a desk, and you just not realize.
Listen, I've been winging it. It's got me this hosting gig. It got me contenders. I'm gonna keep doing it and seeing where it goes.
You're doing great work.
Yeah, works out
You
pretty
got
well.
like a Dota thing. Like,
Yeah, I got a
clearly
Dota
this
thing.
is working
I've
out.
never even played Dota. And they just asked me to cast it. I just, fucking Storm Spirit. He's cool.
Fucking hell.
That's what happens. Let's move on away from the topic of China. I swear to
This
God,
industry is a tragedy.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Leave it at that. Leave it at that.
What do you mean as a strategy? Tragedy.
I meant you getting hired. But
yeah, I
Bren
agree.
talks
Just a
for a
little less,
living.
don't worry.
He speaks. for a living.
I talk over video games for a living. I can't pronounce
Okay.
words. Dallas
Let's-
Fuel.
let's
Let's
move,
talk about
let's move.
Dallas Fuel, okay? They recently added some players.
Yeah.
XQC, Kusta, as he's known, and the big Seagull, which was added a little bit earlier on. But still, these are additions onto the envious roster. Dallas Fuel, they're pretty good, right? But my thought process is, why add XQC and Kusta? I someone help me understand.
Bench
No,
players.
these actually make sense to me.
Popular
Whereas they're
bench players
no, exactly.
who are
But-
who are really good at the game as well for when you actually need them. But in general, it would just make your roster really
but
exciting because they're popular.
Okay.
I'd actually add to that because I think that first of all, custom makes sense because you can. Me and Josh were on around the watch and we were talking about this, and but neither of us realized this. But then chat fucking made it clear. Now they can. Now they can play.
Chat was smarter than we were.
Now they can play.
It was a sad day.
The Mercy Zenyatta.
I
it was a sad day.
I considered leaving the scene.
What?
Well-
What?
Okay, but now Envious Dallas, I guess, has the ability to play Mercy Zenyatta comps and move other people around in their. Wow, that was a bad voice crack. But they also have another dimension where they have XQC, who's a really aggressive tank and like a pretty good Winston, whereas Coco more of the passive player. So first of all, they can do Ryan Winston if that ever comes into the meta, but also you can have a more aggressive dive style if you need to without Coco. And then Seagull, obvious reasons, really big fan base, but also adds that projectile player. So I think these are actually, if you're going to make signings as Envy, I think these are the signings you're supposed to make.
Yeah.
I think they're
Yeah.
really. Oh, sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
you don't-
No, I was going to agree. I was literally going to say the same thing. I do think they are really smart signings.
Siegel from the start made really good sense because beyond the fan base thing, he's like a super talented player, and I needed. I think he adds a lot as like just a projectile specialist to have. But then Custa and XQC at the way that I see it is they're going to be like bench players who are only subbed in for like either very specific situations or matchups, or when Envy feels confident enough in a match that they don't actually need to run their starting line and can just kind of like throw XQC into a match. With that added benefit that they're not just throwing players in for that, but that they're also like super talented. Like Custa's like really good. XQC is like a really good Winston. And they add a lot. It's like a really strong bench to have.
Yeah.
Which is valuable. Like talking about like Houston is going to have a really strong bench as well in another way.
So here's the issue for me though, when you're adding people like this. So you've got Custer, and he gives you this ability to, whatever the meta is, you're going to be able to play your supports on anything. So you know, like, okay, this is our best lineup, we're going to come into the game and play it. Same for Seagull. You know, okay, this is a Pharah map, we're going to play Pharah, we have this lineup, we're going to play it. XQC is much more variable, it seems, because it's more of a stylistic rather than a direct plug-and-play difference.
Okay.
And so I wonder kind of how they're going to fit XQC into the team. Because if it's as we've guessed, speculated, that XQC is there to... I mean, not just because he's incredibly popular and good bench warmer with a really warm bum, but he's got this very aggressive Winston, where Coco's always been very passive, and it has been a problem for them previously. if he's going to be playing, you need to be able to develop that synergy, and you need to know like when to sub him in, which teams to sub him in against, and stuff like this. And if any of you guys were watching the most recent, here's a plug for the G-rated esports people. What's that podcast called?
G-rated. Oh, overrated.
Overrated. Yeah, that's the one with Yiska and Karahol. So they had Aero on, who was the coach of FNRGFE, and he said that for Contenders Playoffs, which was using a format which is the nearest that we can guess is going to be used for Overwatch League, we don't really know. You had to submit not only your map choices beforehand, as in if we win, this is the map, or rather, if we lose and it's loser's pick, this is the map we want to play. You also had to submit your subs beforehand. Yeah, beforehand.
That doesn't make very much sense to me.
No, it doesn't. But this was the way that they had it, so that everything's run really smoothly, and so that has a big boost for players like Seagull or Custer as well, I guess. Although Custer is going to be more like you play the entire series with him, I think, because it's more like you want the Zen Mercy or something, and you want Harry on a different role or something like this. This is going to be your series approach. But on a map-specific approach, you plug in Seagull because it's a really good fire map. But XQC isn't either of those. It's not a series approach and it's not a map approach. It's like a playstyle approach. And if you notice something going wrong, or if Coco's been playing too passively, or if you feel like you need that extra injection of whatever XQC brings, that feels like the kind of substitution that you would not plan beforehand and that you would want to make halfway through a series. And so I wonder whether they'll actually get the best use out of XQC on the roster, whether this rule will actually be in place where you have to list subs beforehand. Because I think that has a big implication on all subs that are listed across the entirety of Overwatch League.
That rule makes no sense to me. First of all, because this entire time they've been trying to emulate real sports where you have like live action coaching and subbing happening.
That's true.
But like, yeah, like.
However, people when you're in live action sports literally have their clothes and everything they need on their person, and they just walk onto the field.
I mean, fair, but
it takes a lot longer to sit somebody down at their PC and stuff. You can't just roll them in on a wheelchair.
But
I guess you could.
It takes out an entire like extra dynamic of replacing somebody when they're struggling and then actually fixing the holes in the team. That's
which is not how Apex does it. As far as I know, you don't have to submit subs beforehand for Apex, but
you only get one.
According to Aero,
you only get one sub in Apex.
Yeah. But according to Aero, you had to submit your subs beforehand. So that could have big implications in terms of the rule and also how all of these subs are used. I think it is worse in terms of how teams are going to be able to tactically use substitutes. But it would also just add a different dynamic. I don't think it's necessarily just completely worse, like a total downgrade. I think it does add another kind of a little bit interesting mechanic so that you have to really prepare for each map and know exactly what you want to run on each one and have a set plan going into it, and you can kind of counter what you think the other team will be able to run on this map. Makes it a little less fluid.
Yeah.
And more
Envious are one of those teams
structured.
that do that. They have the set plays and the set strats. I actually I didn't even consider that, what you said about having, subbing in Custer for like a series long play and then XQC as the sort of this wild card or whatever. That's interesting. But yeah, Envious are one of those teams that have been doing that for quite some time, at least. I don't know where I remember hearing it from. I don't know if it was an interview or something from one of the players on Envious or something after their loss in Apex. Was it season 2 where they had a disappointing finish? I can't remember.
Two is their worst.
Yeah, season 2, and then after that, it was like they turned it around with a lot more set plays and whatnot.
That was 3, yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember where I heard. I mean, it might have just been from watching them play. You could definitely see an improvement there.
Yeah,
but
you could. That was when they brought Kaika on as well.
No, they had Kaika for season 2, but he said he wasn't really a coach during season 2.
Yeah, he just kind of joined and was getting to grips with the
Water
team.
Boy. Banana Boy, actually. He brought bananas to them while they were playing in the
Really?
booth, yes.
I remember him saying actually in an interview there was the problem with like his team not respecting him as much as well. As a coach,
that's an issue now, though.
Yeah.
No, definitely not now. Obviously he's an integral part of the team, but
they give him banana now.
What?
Oh, gee.
What are you saying?
What are you implying? Back to the coach. You just give him back a banana for all the times that he gave you a banana. It's just a nice way to pay him back. That's all I'm imagining.
Give your coaches bananas, people.
Yeah.
You're making me imagine some different things.
Just imagine grapes, Bren.
This will be in Through the Grapevine After Dark. We're going to talk talk in depth about what's going on behind the scenes. But are we finished with Dallas Fuel? Amelia, do you want to add anything or?
I'm good.
You
But
good?
obviously, I think they're obviously one of the best put together. Like their like added players make sense versus like other teams.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Where do you think they'll actually place? Like, how good do you think they are compared to the Koreans? Obviously, I released the world rankings recently, so I think I've put myself out there.
Did you?
What do
Did you actually
guys think?
release
Nice
it?
plug, man.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Nice. None of us saw them. Just kidding.
Oh, did you read that? Oh, you
Yeah,
did.
he did. Like a couple days ago.
Oh, my mistake. I should have read this.
Unappreciated.
I personally think that they're probably a top 3 team in this league. They
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
A, like lots of strategic diversity. B, clearly look like they've been the best team in the West for quite a long time, and have only look like they're getting better as time has progressed, I guess. Despite like small downturns, I would say, where I mean, it was like I've said before, it was a completely different team, I would say, earlier on. And the other thing is that I think that it's one of those weird cases where all of their players are like some of the top people in the world at their roles. So I think if there was a team to compete with the Koreans in Overwatch League, it's going to be this one.
I'd say they're like 2 or 3. If we assume that like Seoul is,
Yeah.
then they're like 2. But obviously not all the rosters are released, but still.
Yeah.
But you
I
can
think
kind of assume.
I still like from who's left.
their biggest competition's obviously going to be London, Seoul, and
New York, presumably.
New York, I think. Unless any of the other rosters just go crazy.
Yeah.
But it seems like those will be the big guns coming into the season.
Okay. Let's move on then to the San Francisco Shock. This is a roster that's kind of controversial in a lot of ways because it's always been hyped up, you know. NRG's always been a popular org. Seagull kind of cemented them. Like you could see that from the viewership of a lot of the tournaments they played in, right? It was always when NRG were playing, they'd always get a significant amount of viewers. But this roster, it's been hyped up. I don't think it's as good as some
so
people make
random.
out.
So I just say this about
Yeah.
the team. I think it's completely focused on building for the future rather than winning right now. I don't think anybody really imagines that they're going to be winning right now, including themselves. Like half their play or 2 of their best players on the team can't actually even play until halfway through the season. So I think in terms of signings, they've made good choices. I don't think they're going to be super, I guess, like interesting to watch this season. I think next season they could be really good. They do have some world-class players, and they'll get time to develop, I would say.
See, but I would say,
No, go on.
but they're also like they're run by the same people who ran NRG, and NRG like isn't a team that historically has like built for the future or kept like consistent rosters.
Fair enough.
And
Yeah.
Is that a
On
problem?
top
Let me
of
just
that-
throw my wallet at it. That'll definitely...
that's like
Holy shit, you threw your wallet.
Oh, there you go.
there's-
There's a world-breaking team just on my wall. Ah.
and so this roster, like obviously it has some like really good people. Like D-Hack is obviously like a really good person to pick up. I think Nevix was a good pickup, but I also want to know if they picked him up, like they had him in mind already, or if like after they released their roster, they were like, oh shit, we don't actually have anybody who plays projectile, and then they like needed him.
From what I know,
Also, we might have a really bad flex support, and he can also play flex support.
okay. From what I know, I know they were considering several people while the roster was actually announced. So I assume that. I mean, I know he was one of the people basically. So I think it was before people started ragging on them, but I'm not 100% positive there.
No big deal.
So we're assuming that they're not gonna turn up then for this first season. You think it's gonna be a second season jobber when the players, you know, Super and Sinatra are gonna be coming online?
Yeah, I think that's their main concern right now, not necessarily their season 1 performance. I think it's establishing a
Or
culture.
at least the first half. Yeah. No.
It's so weird to me though that the Overwatch League teams. There's so many weird approaches, right? You could try and pick up a really good team that's going to perform massively in this first season, and Cloud9 have definitely done that. I mean, Seoul kind of had to.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they could build for the
They would
future
get
instead.
bombed.
That would have just been stupid.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
no.
yeah, teams like New York, teams like London have definitely done that. London especially, where they've just built for the best team that they could right now. Other teams seem to have either minimized costs, like I assume Boston paid about £2.50 for their roster and a packet of crisps. And then other teams have built so that they've got a good core that they want to go forwards. Like Flame tweeted that some of these teams should be looking for cores that'll last 2 years or more. Right, that to me is nuts because this game has been out for 2 years.
And not
Is it less?
Less.
Is it actually less? Yeah, it's less than 2 years that it's been out of beta, and we've been playing with Hero Limit 1 for like, what is that, a year and a half?
Yes.
I want to say
less than a year and a half.
And within a year and a half, the game's changed ridiculously. Like, if you picked up a roster that you thought would have great long standing and didn't just pick up one of the cores that was literally winning, because if you notice, the teams that were winning are the ones that have lasted. If you tried to pick up a medium core that you felt like would have good potential and be able to work forwards, you would have been left with a puddle of shit by now. You would have been left with nothing. And so for these teams to think that they can build cores that will last and still be really good 2 years later, I think it'll be the kind of situation where you feel like you've got a really good core, you add on a load of good players, like a year in, you kind of keep your core, you add on really good players, and then you realize that the good players are better, and you replace your core. And so
I think that's most likely, yes. And that's kind of how it goes in real sports too.
Yeah, it's like the broom approach. You're like, yeah, this is the same broom. I've had it for 19 years. And they're like, oh, I only had to replace the handle and the brush 52 times. Like, but it is the same one. But so I think that's the only way that cores will be able to stay relevant for 2 years, is if you have this, the changing that ends up replacing most of the roster.
Kind of just like the circle of life.
Sure. If you want to get really...
That's deep.
False deep.
Wow.
But for teams like San Francisco Shock, they're only going to come online halfway through the season, so they've only got half a season really to be able to tell where these players are at.
Yes.
Then they've got a 6-month off season where they hope that they can play in tournaments and be able to
presumably they will be able to
test out how it works. Yeah, depending on how the off season looks. Do you think ESL and DreamHack are chomping at the bit to run tournaments? I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they're not.
Doubtful.
It's a wild world out there.
I don't like the assumption that they're like gonna come online like once Sinatra and Super are made available, because like Sinatra and Super are obviously very good, and I think Super being available would actually be more impactful than Sinatra himself.
Yeah, because they do have quite a lot of tracers.
They have so many, yeah, and it's the other like big hero that Sinatra plays is like his Zarya is very good, but I don't know if that's not what is gonna like make them suddenly good. So I don't like the roster that they have available just doesn't. I'm incredibly doubtful. It seems super randomly put together, and I don't know how they arrived at like the specific collection of players.
Yeah, I don't understand how you have Baby Bay, IDDQD, Sinatra.
This is like
and Dante on the same team. Apart from Dante plays D.Va as well, right?
He plays Sombra as well
in Arc 6.
Sombra and D.Va, yeah.
Okay. So they have that going for them, but are they running him on D.Va like when Super's out for like, the first half of the tournament?
They haven't said anything as far as I know.
Yeah.
It could be
interesting.
It's going to be super weird.
The assumption that DPS players are just better and more adaptable than like other players. That's like a common misconception, I think, that like they can just pick up any hero and like play it, and so like tank heroes require less skill than like DPS heroes, and so maybe they're just like stock this with, like all the DPS players and they'll just adapt because that's how it works, right? I guess I don't know, because that's like one of the only things that would make sense to me.
Fair enough.
I can definitely see, like for me, Dak and Sleepy look like a weak point as well, because Dak, although he is a good Lucio, I think
he's not a very flexible. Yeah, he's not a flexible Lucio at all.
Yeah,
and
no, he's a one trick Lucio, and you could get away with that for ages. But it seems like if you're going to lock in for an entire season, you need somebody that's going to be a little more flexible, or you need a couple of supports.
It's not even the fact that he's a one-trick Lucio, but he's also like a permanently aggressive Lucio, right? He's not somebody that really is seen peeling for supports, which is...
He's the XQC of Lucios.
Good way to put it.
As far as
And then Sleepy's no all-star as well. It's not like they've picked up some god-tier flex support as well, so I can definitely see like...
Can you say that?
I don't know how they like...
When have you seen Sleepy play?
Tempo Storm.
In Tempo Storm. A long time ago.
That's like looking at the Boston roster too. You're like, this dude plays.
Sure, but here's the thing. like you can say, how do you know about these guys? You haven't seen them play in like a top team, so they might actually be really good, and definitely they'll have done tryouts. I know that NRG did tons of tryouts, so it's reasonable to come to the conclusion that Sleepy must have performed well in the tryouts. But first of all, that's in one meta, and secondly, the fact that if you look back over the course of Overwatch, and in fact over tons of other games as well, the people who win are generally the ones that are really good and the ones that are good team players. And the fact that they are good and good team players has led to them winning, or at least being on teams that have, in some sense, done well. And so it's unlikely that you just get a bunch of undiscovered talents together and they happen to be meta-proof, really good at the moment, really good for the future. It's super unlikely. The fact that people have won in the past is actually like a big thing going forwards for them. It's not just that they're big names and you should pick them up because they're famous or whatever. It's that they've proved themselves in the past.
I do agree with that point.
Agreed.
All right. Okay. New York is the next roster.
I don't know what the
New York Excelsior.
All right, I don't know what the fuck they're doing taking LW Blue out of Apex. Makes no sense to me. They've just let their
they're still in Korea.
Did we not talk about this a while ago?
Okay, we did, but they're just atrophying in Korea, doing nothing, while like the best competition in the world is like was occurring, and like now we have no sense of what like level of skill they're at. Presumably lower than they were when they started, but like even though they have a really sick team, there's just no real data to say. Like that's actually why a lot of people aren't even putting them in the top 3 when you'd think that all the Koreans would make up the top 3.
Yeah, my thought process is that they must have, at least from an organizational standpoint, assumed that they'd be in America by a certain point,
Perhaps,
right? With the Overwatch League.
Yeah, maybe.
So they just didn't make them, sign up for the Apex or whatever. And it's just an unfortunate series of events that's caused them to not being able to enter.
You say that, but couldn't they just have spoken to Kongdu or spoken to Lunatic High? And even then, I know that for a fact that Apex Season 4 was going to end before anything, like any obligations came up for Overwatch League. So
but I think what Bren means is that they must have thought that the organization was going to bring them over and
fair enough.
Yeah, and was going to move and have them in boot camp or just have them adjusting or something, and maybe some plans fell through or something like that. There's loads of logistical issues that could have happened.
Yeah,
and just fucking boot camp in Korea where teams go to boot camp anyways.
Well, yeah, that's what always made it so mad is that if you want to be in the Korean hyperbolic test chamber, don't you? You want to be there, like. Practicing against the best teams in the world. You don't want to be in North America practicing against renegades and stuff consistently. It's just a bad idea. Practicing against Boston, although Boston I don't think would practice against them. They'd refuse.
Why?
They don't want to demoralize themselves.
Yeah, Boston don't want to play against the best teams,
Competition.
But
they want to start off with Team Germany and then.
Whoa. Okay.
Straight over the top of Team UK. But I think this it is still a weird decision. But some people were saying when Lunatic High and Kongdu got beaten because by the time they got beaten in the playoffs, they were playing on a meta that was
old,
one behind what was happening on live. They were like, maybe it's a bad idea to play in Apex. Have all this stress on your players, not be able to scrim and try out new people to add to the team because you have to kind of lock in your roster. And then Lunatic High did look like they were just kind of trialing DPS players and trying out different styles and stuff. They didn't lock down any particular style or improve their teamwork or anything throughout this season. They did look like they were slumping. So maybe it was like a big brain play from New York. But I think that hurts their branding as well, because coming in, everyone's fucking forgotten they exist. Like, nobody even knows they exist coming into this. You see the top lists and everything, they all just forget about LW Blue. And they used to have such hype around them every Apex season.
Yeah.
Fair points. Anything to add? Finale on it, Amelia, or cool to move on?
No, I want to talk about their branding, because I actually love their branding, and I think that most people
annoying
hate
human being.
Bad.
You think it's bad?
No.
Everyone thinks it's bad, but I like it.
I think the NYXL logo looks good. I don't know what the fuck the flag is. Like, why is that their main logo?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the X Factor. You know that show in the UK?
That's what I had. It looks like the X Factor.
It doesn't. The X Factor's big and red.
Yes, it does. It looks like it. I will literally fight you on this.
But here's the thing.
And it's like disappointing because their like intro video where they like
that was so cool.
No, and then the fucking spray paint.
and then the spray was awful.
Oh yeah,
the
and then
spray
you're
paint
just
was really bad.
disappointed.
That was,
But
It
the
reminds
spray paint,
me,
the spray
like,
paint
I
looked
don't know.
bad because they hadn't done it properly.
No.
If they'd actually got some guy to spray paint it
No,
on,
no.
that shit would have looked.
No, the logo itself is bad.
no, do you know why they did that? They wanted to imitate the Overwatch.
Probably because they changed. The
No,
logo.
they wanted to imitate
Oh,
the
really?
Overwatch spray because that's how you spray in Overwatch, right? But if
So
they
bad.
had actually spray painted it,
That was
it would have been
terrible.
so cool.
Oh, if that's the reason, that was terrible. I thought
So-
it was because maybe
The
they changed the
logo
logo
is
at the last
still
minute.
No.
I feel like they're going for like a similar sort of branding to the NFL. You know, the New York Giants. Is that fair in that assumption?
It's kind of-
I don't know.
it's-
I'm just assuming
it
it
is-
because it's like it's similar in a style
It is,
sense, but it just kind of looks bad.
I don't mind it. I think they just made a lot of bad choices. Like, first of all, they should have made the NYXL the primary logo. Secondly, their website is fucking atrocious. Like, it could look cool.
Yeah, their website's really
It could
bad.
look cool, but they made everything like 900 font. It doesn't make any
It's
sense.
for mobiles, bro. It's for mobile.
Yeah, so just ignore all the
Nobody uses PC
Ju-
anymore.
just ignore that just ignore the fact that this game is played on
Their ads-
PCs and that a lot of people, browse the internet on PCs.
Yeah, actually, this is the slow reveal that NY Excelsior are going to be playing on Xbox and only browsing the websites and stuff on their phone. So, and they're still going to be everybody.
Okay, now
Sponsored
now
by
it,
Microsoft.
now it makes sense. Their acronym is XL. They had to make everything really big.
But I like NYXL. I can imagine that going into like a chant or something. I can imagine teams like latching on to XL. I actually quite like Excelsior
nerd.
after talking about it a little bit. I think that's kind of cool.
I don't.
Just
The
make-
only
So
only thing I dislike is like the overall flag. But actually, when you looked at the beginning of the video, not when he was running, but like at the beginning where it was all like coming in, because it's very symmetrical and they had like all the patterns coming in. I thought that shit was dope. They could do so much shit with that. Like they could have it going around the entire arena. They could
Oh,
use
the
it
pattern.
as,
You mean?
yeah.
Why-
like,
why
I
isn't
think
that
they
the
could use the
secondary fucking
pattern as
logo?
much better branding.
Yeah, sure. That doesn't have to be their primary
Yeah,
logo.
they have X's. X's are easy to copy and make patterns out of.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean it's
that's
a good
good.
logo.
Okay. I don't
Sideshow
know.
comes from a simple life in a
I
simple
actually think
country.
it's like, apart from the Houston one that just got announced, which is dope.
Oh,
I think
don't you
this
dare
was-
say that. Don't you dare say this.
I
is
think
the-
and
You don't think it's
No,
good?
no, I'm
I
saying
think
don't you
NY
dare say this is the
What?
second best logo.
I think it's like it's up there because for me, Seoul Dynasty is easily the best.
Yeah.
Like when I was watching the video of their players and they had the tiger like expand and then go back in and the transitions and shit. That's unreal. That's off the
They
chart.
should all just have animals, but whatever.
Maybe.
So
Houston has a bull man.
the best ones for me so far, Shanghai Dragons are up there. The Seoul team are up there. What else is up there?
Houston now.
yeah.
Dallas Fuel
Houston
isn't
now.
that bad.
I like.
Dallas Fuel is just simplistic, right? It's the
Yeah.
flame.
All
So
of the wait, can we talk about all of the fonts or shit? Like they're all so bad.
Are they?
They're so
I remember not.
Oh yeah,
Ugh.
okay, yeah. The Houston Outlaws font looks fucking atrocious. Actually, now that I'm looking at
It's
that.
supposed to be a
that
Western
font's
font.
so- I know, but that doesn't mean it's good.
Well, it's like the wanted posters.
It's like with everyone's like the Boston logo. They did the highlight because of this. It's supposed to be this way. That doesn't mean it's good.
the Boston.
That doesn't. The reasoning doesn't make it.
I think Outlaws looks good. Maybe I just have no taste. Maybe
I
this
don't
is what
like
I'm
the
discovering.
Mate, we knew this.
I like the
forever.
shock actually. San Francisco's shock. I like.
You do? Oh, I
I
think
don't like the
shot's pretty
font,
poor.
but I like.
I like the font.
All right, so
That's what I
so
like.
the only thing we've fucking discovered is that none of us have the same taste.
We all,
Yes. Yes.
we all have opinions on.
What is this?
things that
Beauty is
don't matter.
subjective?
What, bro? No.
Okay.
Wait, as long as we
Can
can all
be.
agree that Boston is terrible, then we're
I
good.
agree.
I do think.
Have
I
they
like the
announced
name.
their stuff?
I like. Yeah,
Boston.
they have.
Owl.
I like the
Cool as shit.
BOU, the shape of it. I don't like the colors.
The yellow is just atrocious. It's a disgrace.
It's so
Yeah.
bad. Anyway,
Yeah, actually, I don't like Boston up there. Yeah,
I
no.
think Uprising is a good name,
I don't mind it.
but I don't like any
Why?
of the rest
No,
of it.
I don't think so. It sounds like a
Miami
video game.
Mayhem is so good
The
as far as
the
name.
whole thing about
They haven't announced.
they have not.
Uprising sounds like a video game. It sounds like a generic
no.
tagline that you tag onto a
The,
sequel.
It's like-
the whole thing about New England sports is that they have like really patriotic names. So like Patriots, we have the fuck. I can't even remember any of the other ones. But
The
Revolution,
Revolutionaries or
it's
something.
Revolution. So it's supposed to be things about like how the U.S. won the war and you guys didn't.
Yeah.
That's dumb
Yeah.
though, because technically we won in the long run.
Did you?
Yeah, we've got the
because-
better country.
Yeah, because now we have GC Busan and you have fucking Boston Uprising, so I think we did win in the long run, actually.
And yet everybody's fucking playing in LA, so
Invaded.
Yeah, eat my
Wow.
muffin, kid. Proud to be from Britain with GC Busan.
Amen. Sponsored by Korea, by an American company. We won't go into that one though. Are we? I've lost track again. Where are we? There's
Seoul
the
Dynasty,
document.
mate. Seoul Dynasty is next.
That's the one. Seoul Dynasty. This team looks baller as fuck. And I'm just talking about like the. Actually, I'm talking about all of it. To
It's
be
all
honest,
good.
the players. It's all good. The branding, the carbon fiber with the gold sort of outline. Oh, that is good. That is
So-
sexy.
I mean, it's like top 2 team in the league. Probably, I would say
Yeah.
the best logo, one of the best names. Like, I think they did really well.
Yeah. Even the video that they made was actually really crisp.
Both the roster reveal and I thought Kevin Cho did a good job.
Yep. They look like they have a good idea of what they want to do. I don't think they're going to fuck this up because people were
thought they would,
kind of
yeah.
a bit. Yeah, people were genuinely a bit afraid though because when is his name Kevin Chu
Yeah.
or Kevin Chow?
Cho.
Yeah.
I don't know, something like that.
So, yeah, when they announced that KSV were in charge of the slot, I think it was a little bit worrying because it's like a Korean firm based out of Silicon Valley. There's like a big potential for them to just completely miss the
they do
pulse
like-
of what's going on in
they
Korea.
do like mobile games. That's their big thing.
Yeah. So there was large potential just on the face value if you look at it on paper for them to be a company that doesn't have a clue what they're doing and fuck it up completely. But it looks like they really have like a good idea of what they want to achieve, and they've put the right people in charge, obviously, in terms of the roster creation and stuff like that. And their marketing is branding; it's all really solid. So they've done Lunatic High proud, I think, and they've made some good changes to the roster as well.
Yeah. So who have they added then? Zephyr.
They added Zephyr, Fleta, Munchkin, and Rakid. Why are you laughing?
Okay, thank God, because I was like, I'm gonna have to pronounce Korean names again. But thank God I don't, because you just said them all. So unlucky, baited.
Wicked's the only guy
mean,
that they haven't played with yet.
Yeah. Curiously, Eska was not in the announcement, which is a bit weird.
military service.
Is that really the reason?
Well-
is the no, that's the rumor, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, the rumor is that he might have to, because you have to do your military service by the time you get to 30 or
And
something
he's like
that,
27
and
or
he's
something.
very much approaching it. If they have like a 2-year contract, apparently there was some like speculation on the subreddit that he might have found it difficult to acquire the visa because he would have been required to do
Military.
service at some point during that time period.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I mean, he was the team captain for the team as well, so it would be a bit of a blow if he wasn't involved, even if it's just in like a bench sitting kind of
And
position,
everybody-
a bit more like runner or something.
Everybody was saying he was like a big shot influence in the shot calling for that team, so it is a bit strange. I mean, still they look fine, especially when they have 2 upgrades in DPS. Like, or I guess I can't really say 2 upgrades. Like, I'm not sure how to rate Who Are You, but I would say definitely an upgrade over Eska, and then definitely one of the better other flex DPS players in Fleta. So
I think Fleta is an upgrade
Yeah,
as well, though,
I do
because
think so.
he's actually got crazy hero diversity, whereas Who Are You was just really a Genji specialist and played a little bit of Tracer as well, but not really a top tier, not like Munchkin. So the two of them together are going to be really good. And as for how Wicked fits in, I think he'll be more of like, if I had to guess, I think he'll be more of a specialist.
yeah,
So like if somebody like, because for example, he was really good on Doomfist, had decent performances on a number of other kind of hit scan and projectile heroes, but really, I think he'll probably shine if they put him on things that they want him to specialize in, like if they want a Hanzo for a particular map, or they want a Mei or a
that makes.
fuck knows, a Doomfist, stuff like that.
I think Zephyr's going to probably see the least playtime on this team. I actually,
He's the one that everyone's doubting
Yeah.
and like is questioning being put on the roster.
well, because also he didn't seem to mesh well with Cloud9 when he played, and then when he played it was the Soul Cup, right? He didn't really do much there either. So
He was
Well-
pretty decent there. He was all right.
I would say he wasn't the person that shined out on the team. And the other thing to note is that they have Zunba, one of the best flex players. Although you have to add that he's not necessarily the best on Diva, but like I think it's hard to compete with Zunba still.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Zephyr is a good all-round backup as well, though, for them, because he can fill in for Zumba, he can fill in for any of the DPS players.
Oh, that is
I think
true.
he used to play main. He used to play main tank as well.
And he-
So maybe they just have him as like an all-round backup.
And he did play some Genji and Tracer for Cloud9.
And then they have Guido as well, who can play backup for either of the support positions, it looks like, because that's what they did when Jaehong wasn't playing one of the games. So they look like they've got a reasonable roster. For me,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, for me, the reason that they've been struggling recently against GC Busan and struggling with their team is that their teamwork doesn't seem to be down, which might be as a result of them trying to figure out what their roster is for Overwatch League. But also they're a team that plays kind of slower and sets up their plays before they make them happen, which is one of the reasons why they had such great execution and in the end were able to take maps. But GC Busan and other teams like Runaway are starting to play so much faster that they don't give them time to set up their plays. So I'd be interested to see how Seoul move forward with new players that have really good DPS ability, because if your DPS players are really good, I think you can play much faster because they're going to be able to get picks and be able to survive in these situations. You don't have to play such slow tempo. Could be really good for them.
How, in a theoretical cage match between the London team and the Seoul team, who would come out on top, both in game and out of game?
It's hard to say because we don't know shit about London right now because they have like the best parts of actually that's not even true. They have some of the really good parts of Kongdu Panthera, and then they have GC Busan, who look like the current best team in the world. Like, how the fuck are they
so
gonna...
given the information we know, and just make all the assumptions in the world, how, for one, who would win in a physical fight in a cage match? And two, who would win in Overwatch? That was my question, but you just brushed past.
Well, okay.
Wu Xiao looks
You
like he
just
could
have to
knock a
give it
bitch out.
to Busan. Yeah,
have to-
because they've just won
Well,
it.
you'd also have to give...
And they've been winning against this
You'd
team.
also have to give it to Cloud9 because they have more players on their team. So it seems like they'd win the fist fight.
In a cage match? In the fist fight? But, okay.
They would
let's
beat
say
them
they had to
in
choose their
Overwatch
champion.
first, and
They
then
had to choose a
fight them
champion.
What? You have to choose a champ? What?
Yeah, one player from each team to fight a champion.
We're doing like
Who would win?
1v1s.
Yeah, 1v1s in a cage.
Oh,
They get
Munchkin's
one
got-
weapon as well.
Munchkin's got the mass
Oh, no.
advantage over a lot of these guys, I think. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe you go with Jaehong. Looks like
Jaehong
he has
looks like
killer's
he looks
eyes.
like a normal person, like not
Does he?
mega skinny or anything like that.
The question is, how
Jaehong.
much does Korean military service matter, actually? Because if you get any of the older guys that have done military service, maybe they teach them some kind of like basic hand-to-hand combat that would be able to take out the younger guys on GC Busan.
unfairly advantaged.
Okay. How about instead, if you could fight anyone in the Overwatch scene,
Jesus
who would
fucking
it
Christ.
be and why?
How about instead we move on to
Harsha,
the
Anyone in
Harsha, you
Overwatch.
Let's
start.
avoid these because I do actually have to go soon.
What? How long have we been going
2
for?
hours.
Like 2
How much
hours.
more do we have to do? Oh my god, there's
All of
so
it.
much more.
All right, let's just talk about.
Fucking-
let's talk about.
All right.
Back on, kid.
Boston Uprising is a shit show.
Yes.
Miami Mayhem hasn't really been announced, but they have the best name. Houston Outlaws. That green is fucking atrocious, but otherwise they're doing great. Got really exciting players, and Flame was a bitch for deleting his tweet, but he should have just kept it because clearly they didn't get all the roster.
Yeah, they missed one player.
No, they
There's
missed
two.
Raucous and Spree.
Oh, is Raucous on
Raucous
it?
and
Okay.
Spree, which
But even
is
so-
Raucous like very. Anyway, yes, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
I was
even
gonna
so,
speed
I
run
mean,
through it.
you
When
shouldn't
do you have to leave?
No, I just keep going.
2 minutes. T minus 1
2
second.
minutes. All right, go, Amelia, go quick. We don't have time. Quick.
I think.
LA Valiant has some even 18.
I think.
I thought he was a minor.
Who?
Silk
Silk
Thread.
Thread.
He's
Yeah,
I thought he was like 16.
no. He's 18.
Clearly,
I think he's
remember.
17.
He's 18.
They're fudging the numbers.
Oh,
Just
is
don't
he
worry
18?
about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
What happened was
This is the Chinese
no.
situation.
What happened was he chose to go to college rather than play, and then apparently decided, hey, I'll just pay for.
And then he was like,
Yeah, I'll
just kidding.
yeah, I'll pay for my tuition. Oh wait, I guess I will play.
I think Flame was a big old bitch for
Yeah.
like calling out
Maybe-
Jacob Wolf when he's reported the roster. Yes, he said that the roster. Did he say the roster was set or like solid?
No,
I think
Yeah.
that
was that
part
what it
of-
was?
I
The
think that was part of the
headline.
report. Yeah,
Yes.
but
The headline
general,
said the
I mean,
roster was set, and then the article implied that it was done. But then Jacob later was like, "No, I didn't write the headline. That's not what I meant." Anyway,
yeah. But
I'm actually-
in
So
general, just
everyone's
fucking
a
with
bitch.
in
Basically.
general, fucking with journalists when they have actually told the truth is not a good idea, and will get you labeled somebody who's very unreliable, rather than the journalist who relies on their reputation to be able to report things. Just not a good idea to fuck with them.
I wonder if he got yelled at by Optic
And that's why I deleted it.
for being toxic and something. Yeah, I have no idea. But
In
still,
terms
a
of
little
the
bitch.
branding looks sick for Houston. It
Yeah.
looks really good. I like the green.
I'm really
I
excited
like the green
for
as
their
well.
roster.
You like their roster? See,
I love their
I think it's a
roster.
good Western
I feel
roster.
like it. What? Why do you like their roster?
Well, I mean, I'm a big Edifin GFE fan, but most of their players.
I was a big fan of
from
them
what
getting
I-
3-0'd in the playoffs. It was
Same.
great there.
I've had a heartbreaking run of teams. Anyway, I don't think most of I don't think most of F Energy FE is going to be starting though. I think Spree is a really good pickup. Like he's so good. I don't know about Mendo because I don't feel like I've seen him. And Mendo is like IDDQD to me, where like they're supposed to be really good, but I just haven't seen them and their rosters haven't lasted, so I don't know.
I think it's
like what that's going to turn
I think
to.
it's probably pretty clear that.
And then they have Linkser, which is really exciting.
Yes.
I don't know. I just
think-
think it's a good collection
yeah.
of players.
I mean, I think there is potential here because FNRGFE had a really good tank and support line and like some kind of good system, but they just really lacked some big explosive DPS players that were really going to carry them forward through some of the team fights that their tanks had kind of set up. And so I can see the thought process here behind picking up a real core of FNRGFE where you've got 4 players and then you add, say, Jake and Linkser to it or something. An issue for me is that they really don't have a really good tracer apart from Linkser, who you would really want on one of the other roles anyway.
I think, first of all, Mendo plays Tracer, but I think also we saw Jake playing a lot of the Tracer for Team USA. I think they might try and experiment with that. Jake is somebody I don't expect.
I think both.
Well, yeah, I think both probably, but I think Jake is somebody you probably don't expect to see subbed out on this team because just from knowing how he plays, watching how his teams have played, I guess like inside information or whatever, he's like a very vocal presence on teams and like picks up almost all of the shot calling.
The weird thing for me though is just that, I mean, even when you look at how this roster could have potential, because you have a good core and then you can add kind of the underwhelming aspect before, you can really boost it up by signing some legitimate world-class talents like Linkser and to a lesser extent Jake and Mendokasai. But you're still signing a core of a team that struggled to finish 4th place in contenders. You're still not signing a world-class core and then adding really good pieces onto it. You're signing a core that was struggling in North America. You're not signing somebody that on face value is going to be able to compete with GC Busan, Lunatic High, these kind of guys, even if you shored up their holes.
Who's going to be able to compete with those teams? Do you go to Korea?
Well, no, that's why I'm saying yeah, why not? Or you could sign cores of teams that have in the past been able to compete with them, so that you at least know that their teamwork, their understanding of the game, their previous level has been on that page. Like signing the core of I mean non-Korean teams. So I was going to say like Rogue or potentially Giganti, who were a higher level.
I have a feeling they wanted to embrace the USA kind of shtick, even though they have Linkser and Mendo.
Yeah, I agree.
I also don't know to what extent, like, from what I know, this was kind like in the works like very early on. Yeah. So and people didn't know that Rogue was available either for
Rogue,
for like a while
until
they announced. That's like late. Like Rogue didn't know they weren't available. So I think the whole like Cyan team, like that are not Korean have historically been able to compete. I don't think those people were available. And also I think like Flame obviously thinks very highly of Muma and Clockwork because they're all
Flame thinks very highly of TF2 players. Looking at this fucking roster, this is like an essay on nepotism. If you wanted to be cynical about this roster, because it's kind of unreal.
Mate, it wouldn't even be the second best essay. I mean, it wouldn't even be the best essay on nepotism in Overwatch League.
That probably true, but I think there are actually more TF2 players in here than there are more mediocre. Good players in TF2 that have then been worse in Overwatch in this team than there are Toronto esports players in Boston. So maybe it would be the best essay on nepotism. I'm not sure. But this, I mean, the fact that he signed Taerong as well, who was a former Korean TF2 player who's gone on to build Afrika Freaks, and then they've signed the guy below him who was like the analyst, and then Meza as well, who was a former TF2 player, and then they've got Jake, they've got Boink, they've got Muma, they've got
Clockwork.
obviously. There's a lot of people on there.
Maybe I should have asked him for a
Boink?
slot.
Clearly.
The Brenji.
No, I think you also have to be talented.
Yeah, I cover that.
Like there is a base level
In
of talent here.
multiple ways.
This isn't
Broadcast
just
talent.
Yeah,
Genji talent.
to be fair to Flame, this isn't somebody fucking up a roster by signing just his
No,
friends.
no.
But this does look like he was initially slanted towards that aspect, and they just happen to also be pretty good, and probably, to be honest, the best core that you could have reasonably signed from North America.
Yeah.
If you
Flame
had to sign a North American team.
Also big on like having players that he thinks are coachable. If that makes any sense, like having players that he thinks work really, like when it was all talking about like he wanted to be on the World Cup committee, he criticized rosters that picked up like sensationalized or like really hyped players because he was like, these aren't going to work together as a team because they aren't like, they're not the easiest to coach and so on.
My one thing about this is that he was like, what idiot would replace Buds with Mendo, and then isn't that literally what he did?
Yes, yeah, it's been.
Did he replace him with Mendo, or did he replace him with Lynx?
Well,
I
think those guys were also known at the time. Actually, maybe not Jay, but I know Lynxer and Mendo were known at the time. I mean, like, I don't know.
No. But when Buds was like leaked in Twitch chat, he said they replaced me with Mendo.
Oh, that's
but like I don't think that's how it is. I think it was Lynxer.
Yeah, fair enough.
It would have been
I don't think.
And also, I
main starter.
Don't think that's a bad exchange at all.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I would have been comfortable cutting Buds from this team if this is like you were getting. The only one that I wasn't sure was gonna be on it was Boink actually, but I guess I don't know who else they would have. I expected Raucus to be on it, but I know FaZe is. Or I thought that Raucus was going to be on it, but like apparently FaZe has been struggling to get players signed because of like the organization or something. So I don't know.
I think you'll see.
I'm really excited about it. I think it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, there are some questionable pickups here though that could have been upgraded by just getting kind of. Because the thing is, if your whole mentality is we're going to sign a core of FNRGFE and we're going to boost it with like all-star DPS talent or like add in some all-stars just to spice up the mix and really fill any potential holes, then as much as I love him, why do you keep Clockwork on the roster and why do you add Mendokasai? I mean,
I do agree there's
both,
overlap.
They're both popular. They're both reasonably good, but I don't think they're like superstar level. They're not the kind of guys that you want to boost FNRGFE from being a mediocre team to being world beaters. Like they're not going to bridge that gap, and that's what you need from this team.
But at the same time, we're also assuming that those guys aren't starting.
Sure, I mean, but what does it matter if they're on the if they're on the bench? They're on the bench. Then fucking why don't you fill them with better people on the bench that are going to add something to the roster? You could have picked up the
Davin is, I guess, somebody.
Yeah, I mean Davin from Giganti.
Yeah,
potentially a couple of.
I guess you could say like AK. Yeah, whatever. That's fair.
Yeah, I mean maybe people from. I mean there are a lot of talents in Europe, like the guys from E United as well. Possibly would have worked if you'd taken them out of E United. There's a lot of traces over there as well, like some of the 1-2-3 guys, Snello for sure.
But these guys do bring branding, to be fair.
Yes, they do, and they're good. They're going to be marketable. They're going to be good on camera. So I think it's a compromised roster that is going to be a big attraction for fans, I think, and still going to perform reasonably well. Yeah. But I don't see this roster ever winning the league or actually going really deep.
But I don't think that's their goal. To be frank,
shouldn't it be?
Maybe, but to be frank, I think that this is like a fan favorite roster, and I think it's at least good enough to be like middle of the pack, maybe a bit better, right?
Yes, I don't think it's going to suck a fat one halfway through or suddenly bow out.
Yeah.
And also, when they expand the Overwatch League to other regions, anyway, they're just going to be the North American team. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter so much. Like when Overwatch League is bigger, that you've got mediocre teams because somebody has to be mediocre.
They literally have 3 Team USA members. Like, yeah.
No.
Let's
also
move on. Oh no, I'm not. No, Amelia, you speak. Speak your piece.
I was just gonna say on that same thread, there are like like really cynical ways, I guess, to build a roster for season 1 of Overwatch. And one is you pick up all the streamers or all the really popular players and invest a ton of money into them and make your team super popular, and you make money through merchandising. The other way is you get all of the like Koreans that have been winning historically, and you like elevate that team, and it's like a team that you want to get first. There's like a difference there, and this is like I feel like a good middle ground.
Or you could do both by being Dallas Fuel.
Well, they have one Korean.
Possibly.
Dallas Fuel got popular, well, because they're signing Seagull and XCC, but Dallas Fuel is like
Dallas Fuel is just-
pre-existed, so
they
they
kind of just won the
got
marketing
popular
war.
because they were good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, I agree with that, but I feel like Dallas Fuel as a team as well. Let's move on. I was the one who originally wanted to move on to
move on.
LA Valiant. Let's go to those guys. Apart from the fact that their graphic designer literally
Apart from the
uses
fact,
MS
I mean,
Paint.
apart from the fact that we know all of their players, but they've only released 4 players.
Yeah,
the
It's
fuck-
so
who the fuck thought
so
that was a good
annoying,
idea?
honestly.
I don't care.
We're just going to release them 3 at the time by painting them in fucking.
Resident Sleeper.
I
God.
already ranted before the show went live, so I feel like
Yeah.
I've drained all the energy out of myself.
So we're going by what the Reddit detectives used on by looking at Twitter and whatnot, and they've already got me for the London team. So why not just get LA Valiant as well?
No,
you
Jacob
know?
Wolf reported it, to be fair.
Okay, he's also a Reddit detective.
He's also a
though, is he not?
Reddit.
He falls
He's
under
like
the
a-
same branch.
Reddit lieutenant.
Reddit lieutenant. He's leading them. But what? Okay, so LA. Who are we assuming is on this team? We know Soon's on it. We know Grim Reality. Who else? Give me the names.
Silk Thread
Silk Thread.
have all
Silk
been
Thread.
announced, and then they've got. I don't know who has actually been reported.
No, they've reported the entire
But
team.
I think it's-
so
Oh right, so it's Unco and Space as well.
and Numlocked.
Because, oh yes, of course, Numlocked. I forget about
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Oh,
that's also been leaked.
It's a really weird
But,
mix and mash of players, to be honest.
It
I'm
definitely
really
is.
excited for Unco.
Yeah,
I think
Yes.
I think
I
swap
don't know what
Kree
roster
out.
they're going to field.
for Unco, because I thought Kree was what I thought Kree was a lot of their problems, at least in maybe not him specifically, but that role, like that, what was going on with that hero or that situation.
I think it was
was
specifically.
like really damaging in contenders.
I mean, I would agree with you, but I think it was specifically the entire like. I mean, first of all, they changed shot callers, which made no sense because I thought Verbo was doing fine in that sense, and they put their shot caller on the Tracer, which like the one hero you probably don't want your shot caller on, and then like I don't really know, like the Koreans started to fall off when they changed shot callers. I don't know if it was like a related thing or. I mean, honestly, I don't know what to say. The team just overall is a bit weird to me. It seems like it's a mix of like some really good players like Soon and Unco, but then you also have like really young players that you want to develop. Like it, I don't know. It seems like a really weird mix and match.
Let's speed it along because I know Harsha, you've got places to be. You're a busy guy, right? I know you hate me saying it out loud because you've literally just typed a message in the Skype saying, "Please, Brennan, let's wrap soon." But
He's a
I'm an
bot.
awful host and also
He's
a
a
bot,
bot.
so I'm gonna read it out loud anyway. Let's just
like
go
he's
around.
read
quickly.
every topic.
LA Valiant, one at a time. How do you think they're gonna do? Just say you're only allowed to say between bad, okay, and good. Harsha.
I wanted to be excited about them, but I'd say okay.
All right, Sideshow.
Apparently, the rumors behind the scenes is that they're actually performing pretty well. I don't know what roster they're even going to start with. To me, it looks like they could be reasonably good. Could finish somewhere around the middle.
Yeah.
But they could also just completely shit the bed. I have no idea really what the system is within the team.
Thanks
They're
for breaking
gonna-
my system. Appreciate that. Amelia?
They're gonna definitely be good. I think Unco is gonna be a large part of that.
Fair.
Okay.
So.
All right. Rapid fire now. Philadelphia Spreadable Cheese is the next team.
Yep.
Who was the mastermind behind that?
Uh,
No one wants to admit.
Definitely,
no one wants to admit.
definitely Josh.
Who knows,
Going up
mate?
for that one?
I told you I could make the branding for all of these teams.
That's
I do a
fantastic.
stellar job.
Oh, imagine if they had Philadelphia Spreadable Cheese as a sponsor.
That'd
Just
be
like the
fantastic.
primary sponsor as well as their team
You're
name.
inane.
This is amazing. Why are they not doing this? But there's been some leaks. Kirby and Hayes leaked building the team.
that leaked?
Don't know where that was. I've just. Yep,
Huh?
I
apparently.
don't think that was leaked.
Yeah. No, I think it was.
I mean,
I think
no,
they-
it wasn't leaked because Cruz wouldn't have said
What?
anything if it were.
It's been leaked now on Through the Grapevine, episode 6. This is why the thing's called Through the Grapevine.
Fair enough.
I'm the
2.5
bot reading off of it, so I'm just reading what's in front of me. I don't know if I'm leaking things. Who knows? You
That's
just
your
like a-
reward for listening through the entire month.
Yeah.
It's just a teleprompter. It's literally just a human teleprompter. Chris was talking about Shadowburn being in as well. I assume he's going to be in Philadelphia
Yes.
because
Poor baby.
where else would he go? It seems like the rest of FaZe, apart from Spree and Raucus, maybe not Carpe, because apparently there was some weird thing with his contract. I would expect to see quite a lot of the FaZe guys up in Philly, along with some other European talents. Chris was talking about how it was one of the few teams that he thinks has actually been created that's going to perform pretty
Should
well.
be pretty decent.
So I think they're going to be a reasonably good team.
Yeah. And they had their pick of the litter
I'm
with
looking-
European players, basically, because only like Misfits and Envy had them. And I guess some of the French guys went to Immortals. But yeah.
They have signed some weird talents though, from what I've heard. They've signed some people that didn't play in Contenders Europe last season and are kind of not that known as being really good players. So it'll be interesting to see how they actually perform, whether they feel like they've got a good grasp of how these players are going to fit into a system.
I have a lot of faith in Kirby and Hayes, though. If they are actually building this team,
We'll never know.
we'll never know now. I mean, you could have literally just wrote down Brennan Hook is building this team, and I would have read it out as a fact.
Nope.
But I've got faith in them. In terms of them, they've got a lot of European talent to pull from as well, and they know the European pool. A lot of, I think that's the one advantage they've got actually against a lot of the other teams, because they don't really know the European scene too well, whereas Kirby and Hayes will. So, yeah. Anything to add? Any final comments?
No, it's difficult to really tell.
I have no thoughts
I
on
have
them.
no thoughts.
Excellent.
I
That's
don't-
what I want to hear. LA Gladiators.
Yes.
What is the next team? What are they even a team? What is the LA Gladiators? Do they exist? Have I just read off a
Yes.
non-existent team?
Public leaks are for this route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's the leaked team then? Who's the leaked
The
roster?
leaked roster
Well-
is just. Well, we saw what Seamoose was fucking around with yesterday. But to be fair, I don't think it was actually the real roster.
No, I don't think
it
that was
wasn't.
actually
Yeah,
the
it
roster.
wasn't.
Is the name even?
It is Gladiators.
Than the Gladiators. Was that the thing that was leaked? Because Phoenix One were
Yes.
reported to be involved in this team,
Yes.
right? And then
They claimed it.
they registered the trademark of LA Gladiators.
So it's been leaked, hasn't been announced.
Yes.
Yes, I believe so. And I actually can't
Right.
remember what's public about this roster. So
Let's not talk about it.
That's so.
Ah,
We had
excellent.
no notes on it, but I'm glad we brought it up.
Okay.
God, I'm so glad I know nothing about the
here.
Overwatch League, because I'd just be leaking everything.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Yeah.
I think this team could be. I mean, as far as I know, it's another like formed team.
Yes.
But it looks like there's a couple of different duos that have been put together to be able to form the team that look like that's a reasonable way of creating a roster for Overwatch League. I don't know whether it'll really be able to perform with the big guns. I don't know whether it really has the same kind of fan appeal, but it looks like a reasonable team. It's not going to suck ass at the bottom, I think.
All right. Any final wrapping up thoughts on this one? Anyone want to go around? We'll start with you, Harsha. Do you want to finish it up with the Overwatch League? Anything you're looking forward to?
No, I'm looking forward to.
You're not looking forward to the
Not at
Overwatch
all.
League. All right. Thank you very much, Harsha. What? No. Carry on.
I mean,
Looking forward to being allowed to leave.
no. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what my role in all of this is, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, cryptic.
Okay.
Ooh.
Harsha's actually the new commissioner
Harsha?
of the Overwatch League.
That's
He
what.
is
Harsha
the
replacing Nate
Philadelphia's
Nancer?
Yeah.
red cheese manager.
That's why I was upset that you.
By contract, everybody who is the commissioner for the Overwatch League has to be called Nate. So welcome to our newest co-host, Nate Bandy.
Brilliant name.
Thank you, Mr. Nate Bandy. Josh, Harsha. Wait, why am I saying Harsha? Sideshow. I've
Good work.
completely forgot what your stage name was. Sideshow.
Stage name.
Your stage
His
Sounds
show
very
name.
Your
formal as well.
performer
My performer's name.
name. Your gamer tag. I
How
hate that
disappointed
Yes.
are you to not have been included on the Houston Outlaws?
Yeah, I definitely should have been included. I played it. You know, I used to play TF2 as well. Get me in there.
Do you think if you really tried, you could have played at the top level of Overwatch?
Fuck off.
No.
It's a dark question.
Why? Because it took me about 6,000 hours of TF2 to be any good at that game, and I was still not that good. So
Do you think I could ever be a pro Overwatch player?
I'm going to write it down on a little piece of paper here.
Okay.
This is my nuanced thoughts about whether you could be any good.
What if I put 6,000?
That's actually backwards.
No,
isn't
no,
it?
it was,
I mean,
it was
I don't
correct.
know how to.
It was correct.
Oh, it was the right way
Yeah.
around. Sick.
What if I put 6,000 hours into Overwatch?
I'm not even sure. Has it even been out for 6,000
It
hours?
has
I guess it must have been.
What does that
Yeah,
say?
of course.
What-
Definitely.
Definitely
Why
not.
Why is there a lack of faith in me?
Because you couldn't even do it. You have not done it in any other
Mate,
game.
he can't even host.
I could
Yeah.
do it.
You're like the definition of an all-aim,
You're a
no-brain
butt.
player that
If
suddenly lost all of their motor function, and it was
Listen.
like the only thing carrying you to the top was the fact that you could be absolutely sick clicking on heads, and then suddenly you lose control of your limbs.
You don't think I got the game sense for it?
No, I
feel
don't think so.
I'm making
You
an
could-
open team.
Maybe be Lucio.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
In
I'm making
the
an
least
open team.
Active Lucio.
I'm making an open team as a Lucio player.
I think you could be a really good bench Mercy.
Oh, thank you.
Only in her
For
current
Boston
version,
uprising.
though.
Oh boy. Amelia, any final thoughts on whether or not I can make it as a pro Overwatch player or the Overwatch League in general?
No.
Oh, excellent.
No.
That means we can end the show. My wisdom tooth has been killing me for the last hour and a half, and the whiskey has not been helping. What?
No, keep
I
going.
was about to wrap up.
You said let's end the show, and so I ended it. But now you can continue.
What?
You can continue.
Oh, Harsha's just cutting me off.
It's
Thanks
not
for
going to be
watching.
worth editing this
I
in.
know.
No, it is. It is.
Go for it.
Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed it. I
Time to
certainly
shine.
had a whale of a time. Thanks, Amelia, for joining us. Catch us next time on Through the Grapevine, episode 7. Haha.
I hope you got the number right this time.
Only
That was-
episode 7.
That was worth it.